Vol 2, Chapter 623, Super Soldier Xiamen wielded a sniper rifle with one hand, firing several bursts in quick succession. Remarkably, he didn't need to aim, yet his accuracy was astonishingly high. The recoil of the sniper rifle jolted him, but he effortlessly shrugged it off. In the dense woods, Xiamen moved with exceptional agility, making it nearly impossible for the opposing robots to lock onto him. Utilizing the trees and rocks for leverage, he leaped and dodged with ease. With a swift throw of his shield, he shattered 2 or 3 robots, then swiftly ducked behind a rock to evade the strafing fire from a B-2 super combat robot. With precise shots, his sniper rifle disabled the sensor on the B-2's chest with a resounding 2 bangs. Retrieving his shield from behind the stone, Xiamen kicked it with a sharp clang, obliterating a B-1 robot attacking from the side. He caught the rebounding shield, using it to deflect a barrage of explosive energy beams. As he raised his sniper rifle to return fire, a series of gunshots rang out, and the 3 robots were decimated by a burst of precise firepower. Turning around, Xiamen saw they were soldiers from 2 squads of the 4th Legion, advancing with strict tactical maneuvers and seamless cooperation. "Hey, why are you guys still following me? I can handle this in a few minutes. You might as well take a break," Xiamen casually remarked, waving his hand dismissively. "This is our duty," replied a captain of the 4th Army, his tone serious. Xiamen waved them off. "All right, do as you must, but be careful not to get lost," he said before dashing forward. The soldiers of the 4th Legion exchanged glances, one sighing, "I've seen this guy around the barracks a few times. He seems like a decent person, and clearly, he means well. But why do I have this urge to punch him?" "Want to punch him?" another soldier quipped, taking down a not fully destroyed B-2 super combat robot. "You'd probably have to wait in line until next year. This guy is incredibly powerful. Apart from the governor, I doubt there's anyone who can take him down. Maybe not even a Jedi Knight," a third soldier added. "The governor is a god among us. There's no comparison," the first soldier began, but was cut off by a violent explosion ahead. They looked forward to see a 9-meter-tall OG-9 spider droid collapsing amidst the explosion, and Xiamen's voice crackled through the communicator. "Ha-ha! Follow me. I'll clear the path for you. You're safe." His voice, filled with joy and excitement, seemed almost out of place on the battlefield. The soldiers exchanged looks once more, covering their foreheads and sighing in unison. Meanwhile, the clone troopers had retreated to the monastery for defense, their only heavy weapon being an AT walker. The robots had surrounded the area, pressing close to the monastery's outer walls. In such a straightforward battle, where brute force clashed head-on, combat skills took a back seat to the sheer density and intensity of firepower, a quality the clone troopers were sorely lacking. The lone AT fired continuously, its barrel glowing red from the heat, yet it held the line of defense. Anakin Skywalker stood alone at the monastery's gate, facing the relentless assault of the robots. With his lightsaber gripped tightly, he managed to deflect all incoming energy blasts. The pile of robot wreckage forming a circle in front of him contained at least a couple hundred units. Despite the overwhelming odds, Anakin knew that survival was his only option. Amidst the chaos of a fierce battle in the sky, where strange spaceships clashed with vulture-like robot fighters, a hidden sniper perched on a distant mountain lent crucial support with his bazooka. Without his intervention, the defenders would have undoubtedly faced greater pressure. Amidst the tumult, a disturbance rippled through the ranks of the robot army. They turned, unleashing a barrage of fire in another direction, only to be swiftly neutralized by sporadic yet precise shots. Then, a lone figure emerged, charging forward with a round shield, shouting, "Don't shoot, I'm a friend." Anakin, leading the clone troopers, signaled them to hold their fire. Approaching the newcomer, he observed the man's tight-fitting costume and mask, adorned with a C on his forehead, a symbol whose meaning eluded him. The man introduced himself with a cheerful grin. Hello. My name is Xiamen. The chief sent me to assist you." He extended his hand for a handshake, which Anakin did not reciprocate. Xiamen, scratching his head in an attempt to dispel the awkwardness, quickly added, "You're not hurt, are you? Don't worry, I've got this covered. You should rest, and once the spacecraft arrives, we can make our escape." "Chief, who's your leader?" Anakin inquired, his tone icy. Ah, well, he prefers to remain unnamed, Xiamen replied with a nervous chuckle, scratching his head again. Suddenly, he caught sight of the robots regrouping for another assault. Swiftly, he positioned himself in front of Anakin, his shield absorbing the impact of over a dozen explosive energy beams. With a sniper rifle in one hand, he swiftly eliminated several robots, then turned to Anakin. Get your brothers ready to retreat. Despite his initial reservations, Anakin couldn't help but admire Xiamen's bravery. I'll hold them off. Ghidorah is hidden inside the monastery. Have your people act quickly, he instructed, his lightsaber dancing through the air to intercept additional energy beams aimed at Xiamen. No thanks needed, Anakin remarked, noting Xiamen's swift reaction to protect them from another direction. Xiamen, still smirking, replied, Ah, you'll be talking to... Ah, I shouldn't say. Forget it, haha. Anakin's thoughts immediately turned to a notorious figure, the Angel of Death, and his expression darkened. Just then, an OG-9 homing spider droid appeared in the distance. Xiamen glanced towards it and said, Stay here. I'll handle the robot. Without another word, he dashed off, shield in hand, weaving through the robot horde. Watching Xiamen's fearless charge, Anakin couldn't help but wonder if this peculiar ally was genuinely oblivious or merely feigning ignorance. Vol 2, Chapter 624, Evacuation. With a resounding explosion, the OG-9 Nest Spider combat machine in the distance was obliterated. Moments later, Anakin watched as Xiamen made his way back, slightly disheveled. His combat uniform bore several tears and scorched marks, yet his face was adorned with a naive smile. Panting heavily, he leaned against the monastery's wall, took a few deep breaths, and then, scratching his head in slight embarrassment, he said, Hey, there were too many robots. I nearly didn't make it. But don't worry, I checked, and there aren't any more of those large machines near the gate. Anakin gave him a thoughtful look, nodded, and remained silent. Xiamen continued, We discovered a hangar platform on the other side of the monastery, housing a G9 cargo spaceship. You should take that spaceship and get out of here. I can't pilot it, so I'll stay behind. You. Anakin frowned, uncertainty in his voice. Can I trust you? Hey, don't worry, I've got this. Hurry up, Xiamen reassured him, waving his hand dismissively. Anakin, after a moment of hesitation, chose to trust him. Thank you, he said softly. What did you say? Xiamen missed his words as Anakin had already started slicing through the robot ranks with his lightsaber, heading in the direction Xiamen had indicated. Meanwhile, in the sky, the peculiar spaceship piloted by Munte and his team had managed to fend off the Vulture robot fighters of the robot army. Over 40 fighters still lingered, but the immediate threat had lessened. Landing the spaceship, the Republic's clone troopers knew their roles instantly. They ascended the monastery's structure, unleashing a barrage of fire on the vultures attempting to dive and attack, effectively thwarting their efforts. The soldiers of the Fourth Legion chose not to engage in this direct confrontation. With others holding the front line, they opted for strategic positioning, delivering precise shots from a distance. Their exceptional marksmanship resulted in significant robot casualties. Under heavy cover, Ghidorah, with his considerable girth, boarded Munte's spaceship, followed by the Fourth Legion's soldiers without hesitation. The clone troopers, however, remained on the ground, steadfast in their defense. Xiamen, too, stayed behind, guarding the gate with his formidable presence, a bastion for those within the monastery. As the Vulture robot fighters launched another assault, a dilapidated ship appeared on the horizon. Despite its poor condition and unsightly appearance, it was airworthy and equipped with 2 operational turrets. The G9 cargo ship dove into the fray, its lower turret unleashing havoc on 2 Vulture fighters. However, the upper turret, lacking a gunner, failed to contribute, limiting the ship's overall firepower. Anakin Skywalker leaped from the cargo ship as it landed, and 3 clone troopers boarded swiftly. The ship ascended, joining the aerial battle. General, we'll hold the line here. You must escort Ghidorah back to Tatooine as quickly as possible, a clone commander instructed Anakin. The spaceship can accommodate a few more. Make haste. Xiamen called out. Thank you, brave warrior, but we cannot leave. Someone must stay behind to ensure enough time is bought. A clone commander, his armor marked with blue paint, approached, removing his helmet to reveal a determined face. He clapped Xiamen on the shoulder. "We cannot abandon our comrades. General Anakin has a crucial mission. You should board the spaceship while you can. The battle that follows is ours to fight." Xiamen, his expression solemn, looked at the commander with respect and asked, "My name is Xiamen. It's an honor." Standing side by side with the group, Xiamen expressed his honor in joining their cause. "My name is Xiamen, and it's an honor to fight alongside you. I'm the captain of the 501st Clone Corps, codenamed CT-7567. You can call me Rex," Captain Rex responded, extending his hand towards Xiamen. Despite being unaware of Xiamen's origins, he expressed his gratitude for the assistance provided. "Thank you very much for your help." Xiamen responded with a solemn and somewhat unconventional salute that raised a few eyebrows, then quickly made his way back to the spaceship, with Anakin Skywalker following closely behind. Noticing the clone trooper's hesitation to board, Munter swiftly piloted the spaceship away, first maneuvering towards another mountain to lower its altitude. Meanwhile, Justin Reeves, who had been providing cover with a sniper rifle, secured the spaceship with a grappling hook gun and climbed aboard through the open hatch. "Sit down," shouted the villager as he pushed the spacecraft's engine to its limit. The Astro-class exploration frigate surged forward, reaching the third cosmic speed in mere seconds, and vanished into the sky. The Astro-class exploration frigate, a gift from Tang Xiao to Kunte, served as a token of gratitude for Kunte's successful mission in retrieving Severance Tan, one of the galaxy's most esteemed generals, from an uncharted starfield. This spacecraft, featuring technology from the Eve universe stored in the Mothership database, was modeled after the designs of the Immerse Empire, making its research and development a feasible endeavor. As the spacecraft disappeared into the vastness of space, the bonds formed in the heat of battle promised the beginning of an extraordinary adventure. Vol 2, Chapter 625, Respective Roles. On the ship, Anakin Skywalker stood cautiously in front of Ghidorah the Hutt, creating a barrier between him and the rest of the group. However, the individuals on the other side paid him little attention. After boarding the ship, Justin Reeves discarded his special laser sniper rifle, settled down, donned headphones, and immersed himself in cartoons on a miniature personal theater. In another part of the cabin, Munter was engrossed in the advanced systems of the Astro-class spacecraft. The co-pilot, Dubrak Quinto, had previously been sentenced to labor in the mines, a fate he reportedly met his end in a few years ago, a detail Munter no longer dwelled on. Now, Munter was engaged in a lively debate with Dubrak about the optimal drone to house in the spacecraft's 75 cubic meter drone bay. Ultimately, they concluded that the Vulture robot fighter was their best option over the unreliable experimental drones from the Fourth Group. This led to a discussion on whether the Vulture fighter jets should be painted white. Navigator George Cardus and Rhodian mechanic Kenneth were playing cards. George, though familiar with the group, harbored no affection for Jedi Knights. The only one who showed any interest in Anakin Skywalker was Xiamen. Since learning Anakin was a Jedi Knight, Xiamen had been awkwardly trying to engage with him, from arm wrestling to challenging him to a race on the treadmill, only to make the atmosphere even more uncomfortable. Despite this, Xiamen's efforts significantly reduced Anakin's hostility. The spaceship landed in the desert of planet Tatooine, where the Scourge Corps, having awaited its arrival, greeted it. Over 20 Pathfinder-class light attack vehicles swiftly surrounded the landed spacecraft, escorted by a luxurious floating yacht flanked by 2 Daytop land assault cruisers. The Scourge soldiers, eyeing the new and valuable spaceship with malevolent intent, brandished their obsolete Type 21 assault rifles. Though outdated, these gunpowder kinetic energy rifles packed a punch. Unaware of the spaceship's relevance to them, they treated its occupants as mere mercenaries, offering no warm welcome. The Scourge had gradually developed its own distinctive style. Magton Scar, a former bandit whose brother's death had fueled his violent tendencies, influenced the Scourge's aesthetic. Inspired by the metal skull design of T-850, Jason Statham, Scourge members adorned themselves with fearsome skeletal decorations on their shoulders, heads, or around their necks, resembling a horde of demons from afar. This appearance added a nightmarish aura to the lawless Tatooine, where the Scourge had become a symbol of terror. It's noteworthy that the Scourge was predominantly composed of the Boza people. Over the past decade, Magtan Skar had emerged as a dark world celebrity among the Boza, attracting outlaws and condemned prisoners from the Saman to his side. Known for their ferocity and cunning, the Boza's inclusion only made the Scourge more formidable. Confronted by this fearsome legion, Ghidorah finally felt confident. The cooperation between them had been smooth over the years. Compared to the benevolent Jedi Knights, the ruthless Scourge Legion offered her a greater sense of security. Ghidorah, with a wave of his short hand and an arrogant tone, addressed Anakin. "Okay, as a slave, you've done well. I will reward you, ha ha ha!" Anakin clenched his fists, suppressing the anger boiling inside him, and responded in a diplomatic tone. "I hope you can recognize the sincerity of the Galactic Republic. This will mark the beginning of our friendly cooperation." Ghidorah attempted to make a promise, but suddenly realized she lacked the authority to make decisions on such significant matters. Her expression darkened as she coldly stated, "I will consider it." With that, she awkwardly maneuvered her way down, boarded her luxurious yacht escorted by the Scourge Legion, and departed without a backward glance. Anakin's expression mirrored Ghidorah's displeasure as he watched the convoy stir up clouds of dust in their departure. "Well, our mission here is done. What's next? Where would you like to go?" Village Tay inquired, turning to Anakin with a friendly smile. "I need to return to planet Tess," Anakin responded. "I'm afraid that's not possible at the moment. I've just received word that the Galactic Republic has reinforced its presence there." "Planet Tess is now under Republic control," Munter interjected. "Instead, I'll take you to Rhodia, to Freeport." Anakin nodded, accepting the change in plans without further comment. Meanwhile, Justin Reeves, who had been engrossed in watching cartoons, suddenly removed his headphones. He fixed Anakin with a piercing gaze, and a sinister smile crept across his face. "Next time, you might not be so lucky, young Jedi Knight," Anakin retorted with a cold tone. "Your victory will never come. The Republic will ultimately prevail." "I might agree with the first part of your statement, but the second, do you truly believe the Republic will emerge victorious?" Justin Reeves challenged, showing Anakin the screen of his micro-terminal, which displayed "the end" at the conclusion of a cartoon episode. Anakin merely snorted in response, choosing not to engage further. Justin Reeves approached Anakin, who watched him warily. Justin placed a bunny doll in Anakin's hand before returning to his seat to resume watching Tom and Jerry. Shi-Aimon, eager to join in the camaraderie, approached Anakin. "It's rare to fight alongside someone like you. I want to give you something too, ha!" After patting himself down and finding nothing suitable, he impulsively took off his mask and handed it to Anakin. "Whenever you see this, remember my valiant efforts on the battlefield, ha ha! You've successfully rescued Ghidorah. Well done," Hut Alak-Basadi arrogantly praised over the communicator. "Aware of your ongoing battle on the planet Christopher Sis, I'm willing to grant you access to Tatooine's channels for 1 month. On behalf of the Republic, I extend our gratitude to the Hutts for their generosity," Shiv Palpatine responded with a polite bow. However, his expression was devoid of any smile, revealing a hint of somberness instead. "Despite some complications, the outcome is favorable. We must mobilize our fleet immediately and reinforce Christopher Sis. Our goal is to conclude the battle within a month," Master Windu commanded, seemingly oblivious to the subtle shift in Palpatine's demeanor. "Inform Admiral Wolf Uralin that he, along with Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, is to depart without delay." Vol. 2, Chapter 626, The Battle of Christopher Sis, 4. On the 1st of August, 20sec BBY, the outer space near planet Christopher Sis became a theater of war. The serene darkness was abruptly pierced by the dense flickering of white light as 20 Chaser-class battlecruisers emerged from the hyperspace channel. Before these vessels could even stabilize, they were bombarded by a barrage of particle beams, illuminating the cosmos with their fiery dance. The Confederate fleet, stationed along the equatorial orbit of Christopher Sis, had been lying in wait. As soon as they detected the hyperspace jump, they unleashed their firepower. The fleet, comprising 30 Higra-class battlecruisers, 1 Divinity-class destroyer, 5 Generosity-class communication frigates, and 6 Lucre Hook-class battleships coordinated a devastating attack on the Republic fleet. The Republic's Chaser-class battlecruisers were quick to respond. Raising their shields against the onslaught, they retaliated with their own barrage of fire. The engines of all ships were pushed to their limits as they charged headlong towards the Confederate defenses. As the distance between the two fleets closed to within 10 light seconds, the Chaser-class battlecruisers deployed their hangar platforms. From these, swarms of fighter jets launched, descending upon the Confederate lines like a plague of locusts. The Republic's strategy leaned heavily on the V-19 Torrent light fighters, with the older Z-95 Headhunter fighters being phased out and upgraded. The Republic aimed to secure air superiority with their V-19 fighters before deploying Y-wing bombers to target the enemy warships directly. Launch the Vulture fighters. Protect our battleships, Admiral Trench commanded in a deliberate tone from his flagship, a Shenyi-class destroyer. The Lucre Hook-class battleships responded by releasing thousands of Vulture droids into the fray, hurtling towards the Republic's fighters. The void of space was suddenly alive with the light of lasers and the explosions of missiles, transforming the dark expanse into a dazzling battlefield. Prepare the second wave of fighter jets for launch. Squads 1 and 2, maneuver to the flanks. Notify the light cruiser fleet to enter hyperspace immediately. Ordered Fleet Commander Wolf Uralin from the Negotiator-class battlecruiser, the flagship of the Republic fleet. His commands were executed with precision, and soon, additional fighter jets joined the battle, engaging the Confederate vultures in a deadly dance. The Chaser-class battlecruisers, now arranged in claw-shaped formations, unleashed a relentless barrage from their turbo-laser turrets. Despite their efforts, they found themselves outgunned in the long-range artillery duel, with the Higra-class battlecruisers' twin-mounted heavy particle beam cannons proving particularly devastating. Each blast caused the shields of the Chaser-class to flicker violently, while the Generosity-class communication frigates also contributed significantly to the Confederates' firepower. Under Admiral Trench's expert command, the Confederate battleships advanced and retreated with remarkable coordination, constantly adjusting their formations to avoid concentrated fire from the Republic. Admiral Wolf Uralin, on the other hand, was equally adept at maneuvering his forces, mirroring his opponent's tactics. Space fleet battles often resemble a complex game of chess, with each side seeking to outmaneuver the other without resorting to flashy tactics. It was in this tense atmosphere that Admiral Wolf Uralin made a bold move. As the hyperspace detection device aboard Admiral Trench's flagship blared its warning, a flash of white light heralded the arrival of 15 new warships to the battlefield. These 325-meter-long light cruisers, leveraging their superior mobility, swiftly flanked the Confederate forces, introducing a new dynamic to the already chaotic battle. The V-19 fighter group, with the strategic foresight of Admiral Wolf Uralin, swiftly decimated the Confederate Vulture robot fighters. From the onset, Admiral Wolf Uralin had astutely dispersed his fleet across the flanks, compelling Admiral Trench of the Confederacy to adjust his formation in response. The subsequent deployment of 15 Aquitans-class light cruisers transformed the Republic fleet's formation into an enveloping pocket, posing a significant threat to the Confederate fleet's flank in the independent galaxy. Recognizing the Republic's growing advantage in mobility and fighter jet capability, the experienced Admiral Trench proactively condensed his formation to leverage his warship's firepower. However, this maneuver exposed a critical vulnerability in his blockade of the planet Christopher Sis. Seizing the opportunity, 6 Cheer-class assault landing ships emerged from the hyperspace channel and plunged into the fray. Under Admiral Wolf Uralin's command, they made a beeline for Christopher Sis, initiating a bold landing operation. "It appears our initial phase of the operation has been a success," Admiral Wolf Uralin remarked, surveying the battle's toll on the screen before him. The Republic fleet had sustained damage, with 4 Chariot-class cruisers severely damaged, 1 incapacitated, and 7 slightly injured. In contrast, the Confederate fleet suffered the destruction of 2 Higra-class battlecruisers and 2 Generosity-class frigates, with 13 Higra-class frigates ablaze, 3 of which bore severe damage to their outer armor. For the Republic, the outcome was indeed favorable, especially as their fighter force had eliminated over 1,000 Vulture robot fighters while losing just over 200 V-19 Torrent fighters, thereby securing airspace control. Obi-Wan Kenobi, standing beside Admiral Ularin, watched the Confederate fleet's contraction with a furrowed brow. The Separatist fleet's losses seem too rapid. It's as if they're eager to retreat. Though I have no concrete evidence, the force stirs unease within me, hinting not at immediate danger, but at lurking darkness, he mused. Admiral Wolf Ulalan, unfazed by the mystique of the force, replied, "My focus is on the war's tactical aspects. I plan to deploy a squadron of Y-wing bombers for a further assault on the Separatist fleet." Obi-Wan nodded thoughtfully, then inquired, "And Anakin? Our ground forces require his leadership." Admiral Wolf Ulalan updated him. "Anakin contacted our communications department about 10 minutes ago. He's currently at the free port on the planet Rodea, commandeering a cargo ship to join us." On Christopher Sis, the imposing silhouettes of 6 Cheer-class assault landing ships sliced through the atmosphere, their descent igniting the clouds and marking their arrival with flames. Concurrently, a barrage of heavy fire targeted the Confederate-controlled zones, paving the way for the ground troops to disembark. The 327th Star Corps and the 501st Legion, elite clone trooper divisions of the Grand Republic Army, spearheaded the operation. Having cleared the remnants of robot troops on the planet Tess the previous day and rescued Captain Rex, along with over 100 clone soldiers, they navigated through Tatooine's channel, courtesy of the Hutts, to reach Christopher Sis. Laden with supplies, these forces were poised to bolster the resistance efforts on the planet. For the Confederate ground commander, Worm Lortham, the day was shaping up to be a dire one. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter. Aquitans-class light cruiser. Vol 2, Chapter 627. The Battle of Christopher Sis. 5. In the eastern outskirts of Crystal City, the capital of the planet Christopher Sis, a cheerleader-class assault landing ship made its descent. From its massive 60-meter-wide hatch, 8,000 clone fighters surged forth, utilizing the TX-130 Sabre suspension tanks as their vanguard, launching an assault on the droid army that had besieged Senator Bell Organa. Senator Bell Organa's initial force of 500 clone troopers, having been whittled down to just over 100 after a week of relentless defense aided by the treacherous terrain, had managed to keep him relatively safe despite their dwindling numbers. With Senator Bell Organa now under their protection, the clone troopers began to deploy additional armored units from the cheerleader-class assault landing ships. Given that the planet Christopher Sis had managed to organize a resistance, albeit composed mainly of inexperienced fighters, these reinforcements brought with them a significant increase in armored firepower. The reinforcements included 70 ATE walkers and 10 AZ-7 self-propelled artillery units. The clone army quickly positioned the AZ-7 artillery on elevated ground, launching a bombardment against the droid army of the Confederation of Galaxies. Worm Lortham, eager to capture Crystal City, had opted for a siege strategy, underestimating both the defenders' resolve and the city's formidable defenses. Crystal City, a sprawling metropolis with a population of 800 million, was a labyrinth of crystal structures, providing the resistance with countless hiding spots for ambushes, a luxury the droid army did not have. Despite the droid army's efforts to quell the resistance and drive the civilians before them, their advance was painstakingly slow. With the Galactic Republic's fleet now able to reach Christopher Sis through Tatooine's hyperspace channel, Worm Lortham's window of opportunity was rapidly closing. The clone army, attacking from multiple directions, engaged the droid forces within the city, significantly slowing their advance. Additionally, the clone forces that had landed in the eastern suburbs established artillery positions, posing a serious threat to the droid army's rear and leaving Worm Lortham in a precarious position. Faced with this dire situation, Worm Lortham sought assistance from the Retail Industry Union, which, having suffered significant losses, turned to the Corporate Alliance for help. An irate Passel Argent contacted Admiral Trench, only to be met with confidence and criticism. Admiral Trench questioned the failure to secure the hyperspace channel from Tatooine, claiming his plan had been flawless, but was undermined by the Confederation of Independent Systems' mishandling, leaving Pascal Argent at a loss for words. Admiral Trench, recognized as one of the best fleet commanders available, proposed a simple solution: reinforcements. He emphasized the need for both fleet and ground forces to counter the Republic's clone troopers, who had proven their effectiveness. With 30,000 clone troopers now on Christopher Sis, the battle was far from over, and the Republic's forces were a formidable adversary. Pascal Argent was grappling with the daunting task of driving their robot army back to their hometown. The situation demanded an increase in their fleet to suppress the Republic's fleet, preventing them from sending reinforcements indiscriminately. Cutting off their backup was crucial, but the challenge of eliminating the 30,000 clone soldiers loomed large. Admiral Trench delivered the grim news that the Galactic Republic had dispatched 20 chasseurs, 15 Aquitans, and even 6 cheerers to join the fray. In comparison, Pascal Argent's fleet paled, with the Higuera-class battlecruisers being no match for the Republic's Chaser class. Frustration mounted for Pascal Argent as he pondered where to find a fleet capable of such a feat. The High Command of the Confederation of Independent Systems had tasked him with bolstering General Grievous's campaign to attack the planet Camino. Given Pascal Argent's experience with amphibious warfare, thanks to his long life by the sea, this seemed a logical assignment. However, the Quarren, a key aquatic race in the Confederacy, were deemed unreliable due to political instability on Mon Calamari, leading Grievous to assign the Enterprise Alliance's fleet to lead the attack. This directive left Pascal Argent in a bind, unable to allocate more resources to the planet of Christopher Sis. Admiral Trench suggested seeking assistance from the High Command, which would likely result in the redistribution of fleets from other areas. Despite the Confederation of Independent Galaxies being at its zenith, with no shortage of fleets, Pascal Argent was loath to take this step. His ambition to dominate Christopher Sis made him hesitant to share the glory with the High Command, even if it meant securing the planet. In a bid to bolster his forces, Pascal Argent managed to gather 5 Disobedient-class light destroyers and 10 Generosity-class frigates. Despite their classifications, these ships were formidable, with the Generosity class measuring 825 meters and the Disobedient class at 187 meters, both designed for heavy fire support. However, Admiral Trench was not convinced. He questioned Pascal Argent about the fighter capacity of the Republic's 20 Chariot-class battlecruisers, which could carry a staggering 8,400 fighters. In contrast, the Confederate side, with its 6 Lucre Hook-class battleships, could only muster 9,000 Vulture robot fighters. The disparity in fighter capabilities, especially considering the V-19 Torrent fighter's effectiveness against Vulture fighters, put the Confederates at a significant disadvantage. The Republic's fighter group could easily decimate the Confederate fighters, paving the way for Y-wing bombers to devastate the Confederate fleet. The anti-aircraft firepower of the Higra class, Disobedient class, and Generosity class warships was insufficient for such a confrontation. Admiral Trench ominously noted that the opening of the waterway by the Hutts on Tatooine spelled doom for the plan to take Christopher Sis. Pascal Argent, incredulous and desperate, lamented the immense investment he had made in the fleet, amounting to 5 billion credits. The stakes were high, and the prospect of failing to secure the planet Christopher Sis was unacceptable to him. "Understand this. All of my investments are at risk of being wasted," Pascal Argent exclaimed in frustration. "This is a gamble, and the Republic has upped the ante. If you can't keep pace, you must tread carefully and consider your next moves." Admiral Trench spoke slowly, his voice tinged with caution. "The Republic fleet is making its landing. Once the operation is complete, they will consolidate their forces and launch an attack on me. I'm uncertain how long I can withstand their assault," he added, before ending the communication. In a fit of rage, Pascal Argent destroyed nearly everything within reach on his desk. He then contacted Count Dooku, his voice booming with anger. "Why has Tatooine been left vulnerable to the Republic? Why are the Hutts siding with them?" "Mind your tone, Co-Chairman Argent. Count Dooku responded icily. "We have engaged in diplomatic efforts with the Hutts. In fact, it's precisely because of these efforts that the High Command's response has been delayed. The battle for Christopher Sis hasn't even begun. You initiated this war, and rest assured, you will be held accountable. For now, your priority should be to conclude the battle on Christopher Sis swiftly, secure the hyperspace channel, and neutralize the threat of the Republic's formidable fleet near Geonosis." Pascal Argent felt a tightness in his chest, overwhelmed by frustration. It seemed to him that everyone had their excuses ready, yet it was their failures that had led to the dire situation on Christopher Sis. The war was on the brink of ruin. At that moment, Pascal Argent's assistant, Tina Rui King, suggested, "If we can't secure more warships, we should at least amass a sufficient number of droids. Continuing the GRU and battle and applying pressure might still turn the tide in our favor." "But we're up against 30,000 clone troopers," Pascal Argent pondered. "Then deploy 1 million droids. Utilize our cargo ships and leave the dirty work to mercenaries and bounty hunters," Tina Rui King proposed fiercely. "However, finding mercenaries willing to join the fray might prove difficult." Pascal Argent hesitated. "Then offer them more money. If we can't secure battleships, we can at least find a way to finance our efforts," Tina argued. "I know of an arms dealer who could provide us with some equipment. He goes by the name Santa Claus, but his real name is Yuri Orlov. He has extensive connections with Corellia Engineering and the Fourth Group, and is a well-established arms dealer." After a moment of contemplation, marked by a pained expression, Pascal Argent finally nodded in agreement. "Your Excellency, the Western Theater has been too quiet for too long. I urge you to launch an offensive against the planet Karl soon to put pressure on the Republic's 19th Army. Capturing their headquarters, Planet Haven, in one swift move would be ideal," General Grievous, a formidable half-robotic figure, stated through a holographic projection. Tang Xiao, seated comfortably on a sofa and supporting his chin with one hand, inquired, "After the 19th Republic Army's defeat at the Battle of Bespin, they've been scrambling to amass warships. Now, they've fortified the defense line of Planet Karl with over 300 warships and 4 large-scale armed space stations. Given these circumstances, you still suggest I take the offensive. Is this because of the 18th Army?" General Grievous was candid in his response. "Exactly. Our fleet suffered significant losses attacking the Republic's 18th Army in the Surust system, and Governor Wilhoff Tarkin of the 18th Army poses a considerable threat. We need you to defeat the 19th Army as swiftly as possible, then open a new front on the flank of the 18th Army, diverting Tarkin's attention. Unless we can provoke the Republic's fleet into attacking my defenses first, capturing the Republic's 19th Army defense line on planet Karl will be unfeasible," Tang Xiao concluded, shaking his head. "The Granites have been assigned to your war zone. This is the most support I can offer. Regardless of the outcome, in short, General Grievous was direct in his communication. The fleet we deployed to attack the Republic's 18th Army in the Surust system suffered significant losses. Governor Wilhe F. Tarkin of the 18th Army poses a considerable threat to our operations. Your mission is to swiftly defeat the 19th Army and then establish a new front on the flank of the 18th Army. This will force Tarkin's forces to be divided and distracted." Tang Xiao expressed his concerns. "Without provoking the Republic's fleet into attacking my defensive line first, capturing the Republic's 19th Army defense line on planet Karl will be challenging." General Grievous was unyielding. "The Granites have been assigned to your command. This is the maximum support I can provide at this moment. Regardless of the challenges, you must initiate an attack within a week. I will arrange for additional support as needed." "Understood. I will proceed as instructed," Tang Xiao confirmed, determination in his voice. "Good luck, Your Excellency." General Grievous concluded, ending the communication. Shortly after, the communication line buzzed to life once more. This time, the holographic projection displayed Count Dooku. The narrative then shifts to an attachment, hinting at further details. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, the Disobedient Class Light Destroyer. Vol 2, Chapter 628, the second strongest battleship, in the core area of the Glory Mothership, the highest military command of the Fourth Civilization was gathered. Tang Xiao surveyed the room, his gaze passing over Qijian, the chief of the general staff, Helmut Zemo, the chief of cabinet, Igor Zavalov, the commander of the Navy, Matt Horner, the commander of Fleet A, Cypher, the commander of Fleet B, Lance Tan, the army commander, Xian Hui, the army deputy commander, Cheng Shitao, the minister of intelligence, Mrs. M, the cyber warfare expert, Super Lotus, and Admiral Trench, the acting commander of Fleet C, who was participating remotely through hyperspace communication. He began, his voice steady. Our time is of the essence. I must relay the recent combat orders from the High Command of the Confederation of Independent Systems. Within a week, we are to establish a defense line against the 19th Army of the Galactic Republic and launch an attack on the planet Karl. Concurrently, we must proceed with our original plan to seize control of the planet Christopher Sis. Matt Horner, shaking his head, interjected, "Storming the planet Karl is ill-advised. The enemy has fortified it with a formidable defense line. Not to mention, the heavy turbo laser cannons on their 4 large armed space stations could significantly damage our warships." Mrs. M, the Minister of Intelligence, added, "Surama, the governor of the 19th Army, was previously the Minister of Finance for the Galactic Republic. His expertise in finance and engineering has likely contributed to their strong defenses." Tang Xiao, unfazed, responded, "They may have a large armed space station, but so do we." Matt Horner countered, "However, after the defeat at Bespin, it's unlikely Surama will engage us directly here." Tang Xiao, tapping on the table for emphasis, stated, "That's why I need a viable plan from you all. We must not only secure Christopher Sis as intended, but also take the offensive against Karl without incurring significant losses." Matt Horner, with a note of caution, said, "With all due respect, Governor, an overemphasis on military might can sometimes be detrimental." Tang Xiao nodded, acknowledging the point. "I understand your concern, and that's precisely why you're here. We need to find a balance." With that, he stood and exited the room, leaving the team to ponder their next move. Helmut Zemo broke the silence. The defeat at Bespin is not just a military setback for Surama, but a personal humiliation. As a newly appointed governor of one of the galaxy's war zones, this loss is significant. Considering Surama's background in finance rather than military strategy, we should explore this from a psychological and political standpoint to understand his potential actions. The team delved into deep thought once more, considering their approach from new angles. Tang Xiao's shuttle approached Pament, an unremarkable planet in the Calamar star sector, near the outer rim of the Milky Way. Despite its barren surface and modest diameter of about 4,000 kilometers, Pament concealed a vast and complex network of underground facilities and tunnels beneath its crust. The aquatic Quarren race had claimed sovereignty over Pament thousands of years ago, establishing a massive shipyard that had evolved over millennia. As Tang Xiao's shuttle descended, he was greeted by the sight of a superdock sprawling across dozens of large-scale shipbuilding platforms, each covering thousands of square kilometers. The dock was a hive of activity, with hundreds of warships in various stages of construction. Among these vessels were the Shenyi-class destroyers, measuring 1,088 meters in length. These formidable battleships were the pride of the Confederation of Independent Systems, boasting superior performance to the Fourth Civilization's Coal-class battlecruisers. Their modular design facilitated easy modifications, making them a versatile and powerful asset in the Confederation's arsenal. As they navigated the vast expanse of the superdock, the shuttle glided gracefully above. Below, an army of B-1 combat robots and quadrupedal Vulture robot fighters momentarily paused their stationary vigil, craning their mechanical necks upwards upon receiving the correct identification code. Recognizing the shuttle as a friendly entity, they promptly resumed their silent watch. The shuttle descended onto the superdock, where Tang Xiao disembarked, flanked by 4 T-850 bodyguards. Count Dooku, with a warm and enthusiastic demeanor, was there to welcome him personally. He clasped Tang Xiao's hand, greeting him with genuine cordiality. "Your Excellency the Governor, welcome to Planet Parment, home to one of the largest shipyards in our independent galaxy confederation and the headquarters of the Freedak Volunteer Engineering Group," Count Dooku said, gesturing for Tang Xiao to follow him inside. As they walked, Dooku began to elaborate on the grandeur of the shipyard. Tang Xiao observed that the workforce was predominantly composed of Quarren, squid-like beings, and Celestians who resembled the swift Urba. The Celestians, though not particularly tall, with heights ranging from 1.1 to 1.5 meters, possessed distinctive wide-set eyes and broad cheeks, giving them an unconventional appearance. Despite their looks, they were renowned for their exceptional navigational skills and spatial awareness, making them adept pilots and engineers. Notably, the Celestians were staunch supporters of the Confederacy, with many serving as pilots in the Rebel Army during the original Star Wars movies. Following the Confederacy's downfall, they continued their resistance against the Galactic Empire until the formation of the rebellion. Count Dooku proudly boasted of the shipyard's capabilities, stating, "With over 1 million engineers and tens of millions of robotic workers, we can construct up to 500 warships simultaneously. The vessels launched from here will spread across the galaxy, ensuring our dominion over every planet." His pride was evident as he recounted his success in integrating the Quarren into the Confederacy of Independent Systems, marking one of his significant achievements. Tang Xiao, while outwardly polite, couldn't help but feel envious of the superdock's immense scale. Even the star ring of Dawn Planet, which he had completed, paled in comparison. The production capacity of Dawn Planet was a mere fraction of that of Port Parmont. He thought to himself, longing for a facility of similar magnitude. As they continued their tour, passing through a transparent corridor, Tang Xiao's attention was drawn to a grim scene on an external platform. 5 individuals, dressed as engineers and bound, stood in a line with a row of B-1 battle robots positioned behind them. It was clear that an execution was about to take place. Count Dooku, noticing Tang Xiao's gaze, offered an explanation. "Please don't be disturbed. These individuals are spies we apprehended. They stumbled upon our secret super battleship project and intended to inform the Republic. Unfortunately for them, they were caught." As Dooku finished his explanation, the B-1 battle robots opened fire. The spies were instantly overwhelmed by the barrage of energy beams, their bodies disintegrating under the intense firepower, with some parts even incinerated by the high temperatures. Tang Xiao, visibly shaken by the scene, sighed deeply and shook his head, a gesture of discomfort and unease. Observing Tang Xiao's reaction, Count Dooku inquired, "Is Your Excellency the Governor unsettled by the execution of a few spies?" Tang Xiao, still recovering from the shock, replied with a forced smile, "I must admit, witnessing such an act firsthand is quite distressing for me. Even though I could engage in combat flying a fighter jet, this is somewhat different. My apologies for my discomfort." Count Dooku expressed his regret. "I apologize for exposing you to such a scene. After their capture and interrogation, I ordered their execution. It was an unfortunate coincidence that you witnessed it. That was my oversight." Tang Xiao seek Ing to move past the unsettling event, waved off the apology, signaling his readiness to continue the tour. Count Dooku's hand gestured dismissively. "It's only fair. They got what they deserved. Now, I'm even more eager to see this secret weapon you mentioned." "Oh, the secret weapon," Count Dooku said, as if suddenly remembering. "I almost forgot. The secret weapon is right beneath us." No sooner had he spoken than Tang Xiao heard a low, mechanical growl surrounding them. The ground beneath his feet began to tremble, then started moving. Without the mechanical noise, Tang Xiao might not have even realized he was moving, for it felt as though the entire landscape, buildings included, shifted beneath him. Without a fixed point of reference, it gave the illusion of spinning with the planet itself. But soon, he noticed the ground in the distance cracking open, revealing a massive hatch so large it seemed endless, like a great chasm. Below this gaping maw lay an unconventional complex of buildings, stretching as far as the eye could see, until a towering structure resembling the tail of a Shenyi-class destroyer came into view. Indeed, the vastness was such that it defied the naked eye's ability to perceive its entirety. What lay hidden here was a spaceship of unimaginable proportions, a colossal battleship. "This," Count Dooku announced with fervor, "is our secret weapon, the most formidable battleship in the galaxy as of now, the Malevolence." Tang Xiao gazed upon the behemoth before him, a ship so vast it seemed more a continent than a vessel, and felt a mix of awe and apprehension. The Malevolence is the flagship of the Conqueror class, spanning 4,845 meters. It's powered by 16 sets of potent engines capable of annihilating an entire fleet with ease. Count Dooku elaborated with pride. Tang Xiao nodded gravely. Even the Ragnarov-class Titan battleship at his command could not guarantee victory against this Conqueror-class behemoth. In the unpredictable theater of war, outcomes were never certain. However, at sufficient range, the Ragnarov class held a tactical advantage, making the Conqueror-class battleship arguably the second most powerful in the galaxy. You can't even begin to imagine the secret weapon this battleship harbors, capable of decimating an entire fleet. Count Dooku boasted with a laugh. It's hard to envision a weapon with such devastating capability. Perhaps some form of extractor technology? That's the most formidable weapon I can conceive of, Tang Xiao mused. Count Dooku's laughter filled the air once more as he gestured invitingly. Then let us board the battleship and witness its power firsthand. Rest assured, the Malevolence has completed its trial voyage, with all systems fully operational. There is no safer place in the galaxy at this moment. A hovercar approached, and Count Dooku graciously helped Tang Xiao into the vehicle, settling beside him. With a hint of wistfulness, he remarked, "If only the dead angels could witness this monumental moment." As they made their way to the battleship, Tang Xiao couldn't help but feel a mix of anticipation and unease about the forthcoming demonstration of power. The Malevolence, with its unparalleled might, stood as a testament to the Clone Wars' technological advancements and the lengths to which factions would go to secure victory. In the ever-changing battlefield, it's impossible to make sweeping generalizations. Of course, if the distance between combatants is significant, the Ragnarov-class battleship typically holds a considerable advantage. Therefore, it would be more accurate to classify the Conqueror-class battleship as the second most formidable battleship in the galaxy. You have absolutely no idea about the secret weapon aboard this warship. Ha! It's a weapon capable of annihilating an entire fleet, Count Dooku declared with evident pride. It's hard for me to imagine a weapon with such devastating capabilities. Could it possibly involve extractor technology? That's the most powerful weapon system I can conceive. Eov, Tang Xiao mused. Count Dooku's laughter filled the air once more as he gestured invitingly. Then, let us board the battleship and witness its power firsthand. Please, be at ease. The venomous Fang has completed its trial voyage, and all its systems have been meticulously fine-tuned. There is no safer place in the galaxy at this moment. A hovercar approached, and Count Dooku graciously assisted Tang Xiao into the vehicle before sitting beside him. With a seemingly offhand remark, he added, "If only the dead angels could be here to witness this monumental occasion." Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, The Sailed Pilot. Attachment 2 of the Easter egg chapter, Conqueror-class battleship Fang. Vol 2, Chapter 629, Poison Fang. Rugal Shmen continued his explanation. Currently, we haven't achieved a breakthrough with the heavy turbo laser cannon. However, we do have some surplus energy in the spacecraft. If we're talking about a Conqueror-class battleship, there isn't a suitable weapon that can be equipped on the ship due to this surplus. Therefore, both the Quarter Power Dock and the Lundley Star Power Company have opted for battleships around 1,000 meters in size. This is because, at this size, the balance between the available energy and weapon power is optimized. Tang Xiao nodded in understanding. So what you're saying is that the size of battleships is evolving from smaller to larger? Rugal replied. Exactly. Over the last 1,000 years, warships have progressively increased in size, with the 2,500-meter Prosecutor class, the 4,000-meter Inquisitor class, and the 8,000-meter Commander class being the most extreme examples. However, with advancements in energy technology, we no longer need such large battleships to achieve the same firepower. Hence, the size of battleships is decreasing. The Invincible-class Dreadnought has returned to a size of 2,000 meters, and the current Chaser class is only 1,187 meters, yet their firepower remains comparable. The significant difference lies in the construction costs. So, with the continuous advancement of energy technology, the only missing piece is a technology to enhance the power of naval guns. Once this issue is resolved, will we see a resurgence of large warships? Tang Xiao asked, intrigued. This is precisely the problem I've addressed, Rugal said with a hint of pride. The Conqueror-class battleship has overcome this challenge. Allow me to explain. He began to pull out a personal terminal filled with complex formulas, seemingly prepared to delve into the theory extensively. Count Dooku, however, interrupted. As a professional, you should be able to grasp these concepts on your own. No need to waste time. The warship is currently stationary. We first need to synchronize the gravity generator in the dock with the anti-gravity device of the Fang to ensure it can take off without any damage. This process will take at least 20 minutes. You see, my design concept is revolutionary, fundamentally altering the current paradigm of battleship manufacturing. Seeing Count Dooku about to cut him off again, Tang Xiao interjected with a smile. Let's hear him out. We have some time to spare. Before this invincible battleship demonstrates its capabilities, it would be interesting to learn about its power. Count Dooku, having no objections at this point, simply nodded, stood aside, closed his eyes, and began to meditate. Encouraged by Tang Xiao's interest, Rugal Schmenk eagerly positioned the screen of his personal terminal in front of Tang Xiao and enthusiastically explained. According to my research, when spaceships are in operation, the supermatter engine undergoes a process of energy release, with at least 30% of this excess energy being wasted due to the bleeding back phenomenon. This is a challenge that has perplexed many engine designers. Typically, ships are designed to discharge or dissipate this energy to prevent engine overheating, but this approach results in significant energy waste. He pointed to a complex set of formulas on the screen, passionately explaining the concept to Tang Xiao. Although Tang Xiao found the technical details challenging to grasp, he was genuinely interested, particularly in the aspects he could understand. It was clear that this was a method to improve the energy efficiency of spacecraft. He began to consider the possibility of recruiting Rugal for his own projects, though he realized it might be difficult given Count Dooku's reluctance to part with such a talented individual. Listening to Rugal's theories might have seemed tedious, but that didn't mean his contributions were overlooked. In fact, entrusting him with the construction of such a formidable super battleship was a testament to his valued expertise. Rugal, engrossed in his explanation, continued, "To harness this backflow energy, I've devised an electromagnetic network capable of capturing it through electromagnetic fields. And the captured energy, this is the most fascinating part. These energies are potent weapons in themselves. There's no need for a supercannon at all." As Rugal elaborated on his design, the massive structure of the battleship Fang gradually ascended from the dock. Its immense size caused the dock, spanning thousands of square kilometers, to tremble incessantly. Once the battleship reached an altitude over 5,000 kilometers from the dock, its engine output steadily increased until it finally escaped the gravitational pull of the planet Palmant. Engaging the hyperspace engine, it vanished from sight. Where are we headed? Tang Xiao, having tuned out Rugal's ongoing theoretical discourse, turned to inquire from Count Dooku. To Rishi, Count Dooku replied with a somber tone. Based on intercepted communications, the Republic has an active fleet nearby. Destroying it will deter them from deploying forces near Hutt space. Tang Xiao nodded in understanding. The spacecraft journeyed through the hyperspace channel for approximately half an hour. Upon exiting hyperspace, the dazzling array of lights that had surrounded them for hours gave way to the dark expanse of space. As they emerged from hyperspace, the battleship's advanced detectors immediately scanned the entire star field. On the holographic star map displayed before Tang Xiao, he identified 3 Chaser-class battlecruisers and about 10 frigates near a partially constructed space station. They were attempting to establish an outpost here, Count Dooku remarked with a sneer. Initiate electronic jamming, then eliminate them. Roger, roger, responded the B-1 battle droid in control of the battleship. A powerful electronic jamming signal swiftly blanketed the entire star field. Concurrently, the Republic's battleships detected the presence of the enormous enemy vessel. Unknown battleship detected. Prepare for battle, came the urgent calls. Activate the scanner. My God, the scan reveals the battleship is 4,825 meters long. Quick, alert the rear command. We've encountered a separatist super battleship. Communication failure. They've initiated electronic jamming. How is this possible? We can't even send out a main ship-class communication. Prepare to retreat. We must get this information out. Energy response detected. It's over 700 times more powerful than our main gun. Run. From the bridge of the Fang, Count Dooku observed the small fleet with a cold gaze and commanded indifferently, Focused Eye Impulse launch. Vol 2, Chapter 6 and 30, Unilateral Massacre. The latest update, Chapter 630, Unilateral Massacre. Following Count Dooku's command, the battleship Fang had already maneuvered to position its hull sideways. A terrifying energy began to accumulate on the massive disc-shaped device mounted on its side, resembling countless lightning bolts converging into a single point. Such formidable energy, if not contained by a magnetic field, had the potential to annihilate any matter that dared to approach it. On the other side, the Republic's fleet had already realized the direness of their situation and began attempts to flee, but it was already too late. Ha! Those fools have no idea that the energy rebound is strongest when exiting hyperspace. Ha! Rugal Shmen watched the scene unfold on the screen and burst into uproarious laughter. This focused directional ion pulse doesn't even require charging. No sooner had he finished his statement than the terrifying energy amassed on the disc-shaped device was unleashed. The incredibly potent electromagnetic pulses, resembling countless bolts of lightning, were released and then vanished in an instant, as their frequency shifted into a range invisible to the naked eye. After roughly a minute, the lights aboard the Republic fleet and the partially constructed space station dimmed and went out, engines shut down, and all power was lost. The ships and station floated aimlessly, resembling iron coffins adrift in the void of space. Count Dooku's laughter echoed with pride. Ruger Shmen joined in the laughter. Could this be an EMP? Tang Xiao, looking utterly astonished and barely able to maintain his balance, trembled violently. This is an entire fleet. Count Dooku glanced at the screen with a look of disdain, then turned to Tang Xiao, offering a hand to help him up with feigned kindness. He patted Tang Xiao on the back, saying, "Compose yourself, Your Excellency Governor. It's merely 3 chariots and 10 frigates. It's insignificant." As he patted Tang Xiao's back, he subtly tested him with a trace of the Force, but Tang Xiao seemed oblivious to it. Tang Xiao, regaining some composure, clasped Ruger Shmen's hand with both of his own, expressing his excitement. "Your design is sheer genius, incredibly powerful. With a mind like yours, our dream of overthrowing the Galactic Republic and establishing a new order is within reach." Meanwhile, chaos engulfed the Republic's battleships. The systems crashed, screens went dark, and even the emergency indicators failed. The artificial gravity system was offline, sending crew members and objects into a state of weightlessness, floating uncontrollably. The only silver lining was that the mechanical safety system activated when the power was cut, opening all doors and preventing anyone from being trapped inside. "Captain, all systems are down, all energy supplies cut, even the backup power is offline," reported several staff officers who had to grab onto a broken wire to pull themselves towards the captain, floating amidst the chaos. "Initiate self-check, restart the system. Notify the damage control department to urgently repair the energy supply," the captain ordered. A staff officer sighed. "We've lost communication, and the electromagnetic levitation devices are unusable. To reach damage control, we have to travel about 500 meters. I've already sent people, but in this state, indeed, in zero gravity, mere flailing wouldn't move a person an inch. The kinetic energy generated by limbs moving through the air was insufficient for propulsion." The staff officer watched a soldier desperately trying to swim through the air towards the hatch, making only minimal progress. "Our warships are equipped with sophisticated anti-electromagnetic attack systems. How could this happen? It can only be said that the power of the opponent's attack far exceeded our system's capacity to withstand." "Our defense system." The captain paused, his mind racing to the most harrowing realization. "What about the life support system? It's compromised as well. We're currently relying on the reserve oxygen supply. Once it's depleted, we will. The staff officer trailed off, the gravity of their situation hanging heavily in the air. No, I don't want to die. A soldier, overwhelmed by fear, suddenly burst into tears, clutching his head in despair. The darkness of space around them felt suffocating, devoid of any glimmer of hope. I think we can't afford to wait any longer. The captain, gazing out the porthole, murmured almost to himself. Everyone's attention shifted to the view outside, where an enormous battleship loomed ominously close, its massive structure resembling a gaping maw ready to devour them whole. The battleship, known as Fang, bristled with weaponry. Its twin-mounted turbolaser cannons, previously idle, began to pivot menacingly. Moments later, they unleashed a barrage of fire upon the defenseless Chaser-class cruisers. The sound of explosions echoed relentlessly as the Fang's formidable arsenal came to life. Equipped with 2 medium-sized turbolaser cannons at the forefront for offensive capabilities, 5-point defense laser turrets aimed at critical targets like the bridge and engines, and an astonishing array of 500 double-mounted multifunction turbolaser cannons, the Fang was a force to be reckoned with. A total of 1,000 turbolaser cannon barrels fired simultaneously, targeting all 3 charioteer-class battlecruisers and 10 frigates in a devastating display of firepower. Though not as powerful as the Chaser-class's main guns, the turbolasers were more than sufficient. The 10 frigates were obliterated almost instantly, leaving only the 3 chasseurs in a state of utter despair. I surrender! I surrender! I surrender! A staff officer, driven to the brink of hysteria, shouted desperately at the colossal ship, his pleas echoing hopelessly against the unresponsive void. The Fang's artillery fire showed no signs of abating, indiscriminately raining destruction upon them without any intent of sparing lives. Their objective was clear: to annihilate the warships completely. Behind the scenes, the captain, witnessing the unfolding catastrophe, solemnly grabbed his military cap and placed it on his head. With one hand gripping a wire for stability, he raised the other in a dignified military salute. On the bridge, the remaining officers and soldiers, those who had managed to retain their sanity, joined in the salute, facing their end with a semblance of honor. The relentless barrage of explosions eventually engulfed the bridge. Flames and debris swept through, obliterating everything in an instant. After the destruction of the battleships, the battleship Fang remained stationary, deploying Vulture robot fighters and small probe spacecraft to hunt down and eliminate any escape pods launched in a futile attempt at survival. No survivors were to be left. During this grim task, a solitary black Belgrub 22 fighter jet was observed making its way to the Fang, docking smoothly on the somewhat cramped hangar platform. Shortly after, the bridge door opened, and a towering figure, cloaked and flanked by 2 IG-100 guard robots, entered with an air of authority. "General Grievous, hey, you've finally arrived," Count Dooku greeted with a sly chuckle. "Now that we're all here, let's proceed with our next act." General Grievous, his gaze fixed on Dooku, responded in a tone that brooked no argument. "Of course." Volume 2, Chapter 631, The Dead Angel. The atmosphere aboard the battleship Fang shifted subtly as General Grievous and his 2 IG-100 guard droids positioned themselves by the door, vigilantly guarding each side. "The battlefield has been cleared. Let's set our sights on the next target," Count Dooku announced, though he kept their destination undisclosed. As the ship engaged its hyperdrive, the view outside transformed into a blur of light streaks, a visual effect of stars' mass in 3-dimensional space projected into hyperspace at faster-than-light speeds. Tang Xiao, still buzzing with excitement from the recent events, was deep in conversation with Lugal, showering him with praise. Catching General Grievous's eye, Count Dooku subtly signaled him. Grievous approached, displacing Lugal rather brusquely, and instructed, "Mr. Lugal, it's time for the battle meeting. Please check on the ion pulse cannons and ensure they haven't sustained damage after firing." Sensing the tension, Lugal quickly agreed and hurried off the bridge. "What's our next objective?" "We should obliterate another Republic fleet," Tang Xiao proposed with enthusiasm. "Indeed, Your Excellency. We must utilize this warship to inflict significant damage on the Republic," Count Dooku responded, placing a reassuring hand on Tang Xiao's shoulder. You might perceive the front lines as perilous, but rest assured, there's no safer place than aboard the Venom during these times of assassination attempts in Coruscant, he added. General Grievous chimed in. Exactly. Even if a fleet were to approach, it wouldn't stand a chance against us. I'm well aware of our safety here, Count Dooku, Tang Xiao replied with a knowing smile, aware of the underlying message. In this galaxy, no one could come to his rescue. Your Excellency the Governor, there's something I've always been curious about, Count Dooku said, turning to gaze out the porthole, his posture commanding despite his age. At over 6 feet tall, his presence was imposing. Please go ahead, Tang Xiao encouraged. I once walked in the light, but the darkness within the Jedi Order became too apparent. The Order has strayed from its traditions and glory, becoming a military arm for political agendas. That's why I left and embraced the darkness, Count Dooku explained, his tone light yet filled with conviction. This galaxy is in dire need of change. The weakness of the Republic has allowed corporate giants to run amok, making life increasingly difficult for the populace. Tang Xiao responded thoughtfully. The civilization of the Milky Way originated from the core worlds. Aside from a few ancient races in the mid and outer rims, the core worlds have always been superior in technology, economy, and military might. For millennia, the exploitation of outer worlds by the core has persisted, merely changing in form. Our mission is to dismantle this monopoly and foster a more equitable galaxy. Indeed, the Milky Way could have been a unified and formidable power. After defeating the Sith Empire, the Republic was at its zenith, a force to be reckoned with. However, the foolish Ruusan Reformation led to its decline, akin to a victorious warrior who, instead of expanding his empire, indulges in excess, Count Dooku lamented. Tang Xiao nodded in agreement. Even after leaving the Jedi Order, I continued to learn. The exploration initiatives of Cholas Sabath, for instance, are well known to me. After all, the strategies of the Chiss General. Severance Tan is under your command, Count Dooku stated, turning his gaze towards Tang Xiao. Given that, have you ever heard her mention the legend of the Chiss? Tang Xiao furrowed his brows, shaking his head in response. I'm afraid I haven't. The unknown threat looms from beyond the Milky Way, Count Dooku continued. Our current technology doesn't allow for faster-than-light travel across galaxies, and beyond our own, hyperspace routes are non-existent. Nonetheless, the Galactic Republic is on the brink of collapse, and its demise will herald the death of countless beings. I share your concerns, Count Dooku. That's precisely why I'm here. It aligns with my objectives, Tang Xiao affirmed. Count Dooku spun around, his gaze piercing as he fixed his eyes on Tang Xiao. Is it truly your goal, or is it the ambition of the Angel of Death? I demand the truth, Lord Dead Angel. Tang Xiao maintained a calm demeanor, replying, I'm not sure I follow. My goals align with those of the Angel of Death, which is why I was chosen. Count Dooku, however, seemed uninterested in Tang Xiao's explanation and proceeded. My master, Darth Sidious, who holds a significant position within the Galactic Republic, was once an apprentice himself. His master was Darth Plagueis, also known as Hago Damask Tooth. Tang Xiao, taken aback, questioned, Hago Damask? Darth Plagueis? How does he fit into the Sith's narrative? Count Dooku continued, disregarding Tang Xiao's question. Before his demise, Hago Damask broke the Sith's rule of two by secretly taking another apprentice, who is none other than the Angel of Death. Although the Sith title of the Angel of Death remains unknown to me, he is acknowledged in the Sith archives as a true Lord of the Sith, guided by the dark side of the Force, Count Dooku elaborated. Hago Damask Tood was instrumental in supporting the Fourth Group, leading to the development of Dawn Planet into a crucial component of our Confederacy. Before his death, he claimed that both you and Sandhill were his disciples. However, the Angel of Death has always been a shadowy figure, seemingly without a trace. In this galaxy, such anonymity is impossible, leading to the conclusion that the Angel of Death must be either you or Sandhill. Though I've only encountered the Angel of Death once, and a Force mask obscured his identity, I am certain he is not a moon. Thus, the answer is clear. Governor, you are the Angel of Death, Count Dooku declared sharply. In an instant, a blood-red lightsaber was drawn, aimed directly at Tang Xiao's chest. Behind him, General Grievous revealed his own lightsaber, hidden within his cloak. His arm split into four, each wielding a lightsaber. Then, let's have a proper introduction, Angel of Death, Count Dooku said coldly. Tang Xiao lowered his head, his expression obscured, choosing to remain silent. Vol 2, Chapter 632, Fury. Surrounded by the 5 lightsabers wielded by Count Dooku and General Grievous, Tang Xiao found himself in a dire predicament. The gauntlets of Little Clash were too conspicuous to wear unless he assumed the identity of Darth Malthael, and this time he was even less inclined to wield a lightsaber. In such a situation, facing Count Dooku and General Grievous unarmed was tantamount to courting death. Tang Xiao couldn't help but laugh. Me, the Angel of Death? Ha ha ha, Count Dooku, your imagination truly knows no bounds. But let's set that aside. As the governor of Dawn Planet and a core member of the 12th Congress of the Coalition Government of the Independent Galaxy Confederation, not to mention the Commander-in-Chief of the Western Theater, you've lured me here and now threaten me with violence. Are you aware of the repercussions this will have on the Confederacy? Losing Dawn Planet will instill fear and unease among our allies. It will cost me at least 1/3 of the Confederate Congress's support and more than half of the member galaxies' backing. Many will even secede from the Confederacy, significantly diminishing our collective power, Count Dooku responded calmly. Then, by all means, proceed, Tang Xiao said, pointing at his heart with a stern expression. Don't you see? Once I'm dead, the fate of the Confederacy will be of no concern to me. Everything I've learned from Das Plagueis, all our plans, will be rendered moot. As soon as Count Dooku finished speaking, he moved with the speed of lightning, his blood-red lightsaber aiming for Tang Xiao's face. Tang Xiao instinctively raised his hand to block, but Count Dooku's blade veered away, targeting his throat instead. By the time Tang Xiao realized, the lightsaber was already perilously close to his neck, less than a centimeter away. With no other option, Tang Xiao raised his hands in surrender. Behind him, General Grievous sheathed his lightsaber, and his 4 robotic arms seized Tang Xiao, rendering him immobile. Count Dooku's voice was cold and deliberate. I understand this is a grave insult and could even lead to war, but I must be certain. I need to verify the identity of the Angel of Death. Do not deceive me. Confess, Angel of Death. Only through honesty can we truly collaborate. Tang Xiao clenched his teeth, his voice filled with bitterness. My life was saved by Haije. When we were adrift in the void, facing despair, he offered me a chance to rebuild my home in the Endor galaxy. Since then, I've dedicated myself to learning, to development, striving to lead my people towards a better life. My ambitions align with Haije's. That's why I became his disciple. Count Dooku's expression darkened further. 10 years ago, a man claiming to be the Angel of Death approached me. He said he was Haige's apprentice and a Sith Lord. He also claimed that Haige had been killed by another of his apprentices, who is now in the Republic. I seek vengeance against the Republic for this betrayal. Tang Xiao's face twisted in anger. You were deceived. Why would you believe someone simply claiming to be Haige's apprentice? Count Dooku raised his voice. Because of the authorization, he possessed the highest level of clearance for both the Fourth Group and Dawn Planet. Only Haige, Gross, and I have such access. Tang Xiao knew that if Count Dooku employed the same tactics with Sang Hill, he would receive the same response. However, given the strength of the Interstellar Banking Association, Count Dooku would likely not resort to such measures. Ultimately, their position on Dawn Planet was too vulnerable. Your accusations are baseless, Angel of Death. I've told you, I am not the Angel of Death. Tang Xiao's anger boiled over as he retorted. As far as I'm aware, the Angel of Death has been aiding both me and you. Why persist in this hostility? Are you willing to jeopardize our greater cause? Count Dooku spoke slowly, his voice heavy with the weight of his convictions. This war will not only dismantle the Galactic Republic, but will also eradicate the corporate behemoths that plague this galaxy like a lingering cancer. For the sake of the Confederacy's ideals, I cannot allow the existence of an unpredictable element like the Angel of Death. If you truly wish to collaborate with him, your approach is fundamentally flawed, Tang Xiao retorted sharply. Sith Lords adhere to the rule of 2. Only one master and one apprentice can exist at any given time, Count Dooku explained coldly. Therefore, the Angel of Death must be eliminated. Unless, of course, he is willing to abandon his guise and engage in an open and honest dialogue with me. Then your quarrel is with the Angel of Death, not me, Tang Xiao countered. For the third time, Dooku faced Tang Xiao and declared, "You are the Angel of Death." "And how do you propose to prove such a claim?" Tang Xiao challenged. "I cannot simply kill you, given your public status as the governor of Dawn Planet. However, I would like to draw a sample of your blood for analysis. This will allow me to determine if you are force-sensitive by measuring the density of midichlorians in your bloodstream, which I suspect is significantly high," Dooku reasoned. "This is an egregious affront to a planetary governor." Tang Xiao's eyes blazed with fury. "My apologies, Your Excellency," Dooku said, before his finger, guided by the Force, made a small incision on Tang Xiao's hand, drawing blood. He then promptly bandaged the wound with a white towel from his chest before moving to analyze the sample with his equipment. The atmosphere was tense, with Tang Xiao glaring at Dooku's back, his gaze seething with anger. The analysis was swift, and as Dooku reviewed the results, his frustration was palpable. The screen of the device cracked under the force of his grip. Turning to face Tang Xiao, Dooku spat out, "You, a mere ordinary person. Impossible! How can you be just an ordinary person? Your midichlorian density is only 1,000. You're not even force-sensitive. I've told you repeatedly, I am not the Angel of Death." Tang Xiao seethed. "Now, Count Dooku, you owe me an explanation." Dooku remained silent for a moment before signaling General Grievous, who then released Tang Xiao's mechanical arm. Approaching Tang Xiao, Dooku placed a hand over his heart and bowed deeply. "I am at a loss for how to rectify my mistake and the offense I have caused you, Your Excellency the Governor. Please accept my deepest apologies." Tang Xiao examined his hand, noting the bruises from Grievous's grip, his expression darkening further. "Without a satisfactory explanation, Count Dooku, our next meeting will be at the Confederate Congress." "I am prepared to atone for my error," Dooku said, his head bowed. "However, the identity of the Angel of Death is of great importance to me. Please, enlighten me." "Dawn Planet will not be swayed by this incident," Tang Xiao stated, his voice still laced with resentment. "While I understand your position, it does not justify your threats. I offer my apologies once again," Dooku sighed, shaking his head. "We will settle this matter later. As for the Angel of Death—" Tang Xiao paused, retrieving a black portable communicator. "The Angel of Death has been attempting to contact me through this device, but I have been unable to respond. If you truly wish to meet him, I can arrange it." "This would be my greatest honor," Dooku responded. He then turned and ordered, "Disable the communication jammer and switch to enhanced communication mode." "Roger, Roger," Tang Xiao complied, setting the stage for a pivotal encounter. I pressed the communication button, and the communicator sprang to life. Those 10 seconds stretched out, feeling as lengthy as an entire year. Then, finally, the connection was established. Volume 2, Chapter 633, The Cannon Emerges. The communication device sprang to life, leaving even Tang Xiao with a look of sheer astonishment on his face. "How is this possible? This communicator has never managed to establish a connection before," he exclaimed. The holographic projection before him flickered to life, revealing two figures. One, shrouded in a black cloak, stood still as a statue, while beside him, Darth Lilim clung tightly, an expression of sheer bliss on her face. Count Dooku, with a grave expression, addressed the holographic figures. "Dead Angel, you finally made your appearance." Darth Marthael, the figure in the black cloak, responded slowly, "You seek an audience with me, but not at the behest of Darth Sidious. Indeed, I am merely curious about the tales that bind the Sith Lords of past generations. Moreover, I wish to understand your purpose," Count Dooku inquired earnestly. The grand scheme to overturn the galaxy began with Darth Tenebris, was further developed by Darth Plagueis and executed by Darth Sidious. Overthrowing the Galactic Republic was relatively straightforward. However, dismantling the Jedi Order, especially with the existence of the Chosen One, proved to be a far greater challenge, Darth Marthael explained with a cold tone. "And what role do you play in this grand plan?" Count Dooku probed further. "Your role," Darth Marthael replied succinctly. "Are you seeking vengeance for Darth Plagueis?" Count Dooku pressed on. Darth Marthael stood silently for a moment, his demeanor unchanging, and then spoke softly. A Sith Lord who falls at the hands of his apprentice is not worthy of vengeance. Such a demise merely highlights one's weakness. As for betrayal, it is the very essence of the Sith way. So what drives your actions? Count Dooku asked, seeking clarity. The grand vision of Darth Sidious is neither Darth Plagueis's nor mine, and certainly it is not as you imagine, Darth Marthael stated calmly. Do you understand the ultimate goal of the Sith? Please, enlighten me, Count Dooku said, bowing deeply in a gesture of respect. One Sith, Darth Marthael declared, a statement that sent a shiver through Count Dooku's spine. The simplicity of the phrase belied its profound implications. To achieve this ultimate state, one condition is necessary. Darth Marthael continued, his voice betraying no emotion even as Count Dooku sensed the powerful dark force emanating from him. Eternal life. At these words, Count Dooku looked up sharply, disbelief etched on his face. Darth Sidious pursued politics, lacking both the time and the aptitude for the secrets of immortality. But I am different. I am the true successor of Darth Tenebris and Darth Plagueis. Your words offer much to ponder, esteemed Sith Lord, Lord Dead Angel, Count Dooku acknowledged. You sought me out for another reason, Darth Marthael pressed on. You are not yet a true Sith Lord, Darth Tyrannus. Your title has not been recorded in the Book of the Sith, nor recognized by the dark side, for the Book of the Sith is in my possession. Count Dooku bowed once more, expressing his hope for a deeper collaboration. I wish to inform you, Your Honor. Choosing Tang Xiao as my intermediary was deliberate. He and Sandhill were both prepared by Darth Plagueis for this conflict. And you attempt to cooperate with me by abducting Tang Xiao? Stepping into such an obvious trap, I must say, I am disappointed, Darth Marthael interjected, not allowing Count Dooku to finish. Tang Xiao, upon hearing this, immediately knelt on one knee, remorse evident in his voice. I have failed in my duties, Lord Dead Angel. I will ensure Tang Xiao is returned to Dawn Planet immediately, Darth Marthael concluded, his voice carrying the weight of finality. Count Dooku addressed the situation with a formal tone. I shall personally visit and offer my sincere apologies, along with adequate compensation. Darth Marthael responded with a dismissive lightness. There's no need. I've come to retrieve someone. Almost simultaneously, an alarm blared across the bridge. B-1, the droid manning the sensor, rotated its head a full 180 degrees to report. Sir, we've detected a high-intensity hyperspace reaction. It appears we have about 3 minutes. Tang Xiao's complexion drained of color, his expression morphing into one of sheer terror. He's actually come in person? Approximately 3 minutes later, an intense white light burst forth from the star field opposite them. This light, a manifestation of the hyperspace reaction transitioning into three-dimensional space, was blindingly bright, suggesting the arrival of an entire fleet. Count Dooku shared this assumption until the light vanished, revealing not a fleet, but a single battleship. What is this? Even Count Dooku couldn't contain his astonishment upon seeing the optical image relayed by the sensor. Indeed, it was a solitary battleship, yet the hyperspace reaction it generated was on par with that of an entire fleet. The battleship's design was sleek and diamond-shaped, its sheer size awe-inspiring even from a distance. Sir, after conducting a scan, the total length of this battleship is 14,100 meters, nearly 3 times that of the Fang, reported the B-1 droid at the sensor controls. Sir, we've detected a strong energy response. The energy transmission within this battleship spans its entire hull. Oh, I see. This isn't just a spaceship. It's a cannon, another B-1 droid chimed in. Impossible. Cannons can't fly, the first B-1 robot quickly countered. This warship is preparing to fire. We must not give them the opportunity. Fire a directional focused ion pulse immediately, Count Dooku ordered without hesitation. Our engines were operating at low power until just now, and we don't have enough energy stored for a return fire. We need 10 minutes to recharge before we can fire again, the B-1 droid responsible for weaponry responded. Count Dooku turned to gaze at the 14,100-meter-long behemoth with a mix of awe and fear. The Fang, at 4,825 meters long, seemed minuscule in comparison to this titan. It was akin to comparing a dog to a tiger. What terrified him even more was the realization that this gargantuan ship was essentially a cannon from bow to stern, with energy transmission for firing spanning its entire structure. Maximize shield energy. Prepare for impact, Count Dooku bellowed. Before he could issue further instructions, the Titan battleship opposite them completed its charge. The energy, accumulating in layers within the colossal gun barrel over 10,000 meters in diameter, reached its peak and was unleashed in a devastating blast. Target the battleship Venom and fire. Vol 2, Chapter 634, Eliminate Suspicion. A dazzling ray of light instantly illuminated the cosmic expanse as a supergiant cannonball, 500 meters in diameter, traced a golden trajectory straight into its target. The impact was immediate. The formidable shield of the Fang Fang shattered upon contact, and the battleship's tip, which had been maneuvered to launch an ion pulse, bore the brunt of the remaining shells. The immense kinetic force propelled the 4,825-meter-long vessel as if it had been struck by a colossal hand, its stern thrust forward while its bow twisted backward, threatening to break apart. Inside the Fang, the moment of impact felt like a magnitude 10 earthquake, violently shaking the battleship and hurling almost everything, and everyone, against the bulkheads. Count Dooku, using the Force, managed to stabilize himself. He noticed Tang Xiao hurtling uncontrollably towards a bulkhead, extended his hand, and with a gentle wave, cushioned Tang Xiao's crash, guiding him to a slow, safe descent. Although the battleship's gravity generator kicked in, mitigating much of the kinetic energy, the damage inflicted was catastrophic. Fortunately, the cannon had targeted the battleship's tip and not its engines. Otherwise, the residual kinetic energy from the shell could have obliterated the Fang Fang entirely. Once the battleship stabilized, Tang Xiao, in a frenzy, seized Count Dooku's shirt and shouted, "You provoked him. You've angered him. He will really kill me. You fool. He truly will." Count Dooku, turning to the re-established communication, responded with a measured tone. "This joke has gone too far, Lord Dead Angel. Forget the others, but Tang Xiao, he could have died just now." "Don't repeatedly test my patience, Dooku," Darth Marthael retorted icily. "I collaborate with you because we share common ground. Don't let your foolishness squander this hard-earned opportunity." Count Dooku, his expression darkening, finally bowed his head in submission. Moments later, the colossal Ragnarov-class Titan battleship, the Plague, positioned itself beside the battered Fang Fang. In comparison, the Fang Fang seemed minuscule, like a child beside Yao Ming. Observing it up close, it was evident that the Plague was essentially a massive cannon with a bridge and engines mounted on its barrel, a sight that even Count Dooku found awe-inspiring. The shot that had just been fired was devastating. The Fang Fang stood no chance, and a chaser-class battleship would likely have been pierced from bow to stern without resistance. Fired upon a planet, such a cannon could induce an earthquake of at least 10 magnitudes, annihilating everything within hundreds of kilometers. A shuttle arrived, navigating through the chaos to the Fang's hangar. The hatch opened, and the dark Jedi Knight Ulu Ulix, now with a mechanical arm, stepped out and surveyed the crowd with a cold gaze. Count Dooku and General Grievous escorted Tang Xiao to the hangar platform, handing him over to Ulix. Tang Xiao was visibly reluctant, casting longing glances back at Count Dooku, who remained indifferent as Ulu Ulix dragged Tang Xiao into the shuttle. "Now, you should understand, Count Dooku," Darth Marthael stated through the holographic projection. "This battleship, the Ragnarov-class Titan, named the Plague, is the greatest legacy of my master, Darth Plagueis. It will now serve as your ally in achieving your ambitions." "It is my honor, Lord Dead Angel," Count Dooku replied with a bow. "The Plague, this Titan battleship, will undoubtedly play a pivotal role in our campaign against the Republic." Even amidst rebellion, the promise of such power could not be ignored. General Grievous hesitated for a moment, his actions seemingly involuntary as he glanced around, confusion evident in his demeanor. "Don't let me down. You should know. We share the same objective," Darth Marthael concluded before severing the communication. Ulu Ulix hurriedly escorted Tang Xiao back to the shuttle. Once inside and the cabin door securely fastened, he released Tang Xiao's Endi, stepped back, and knelt on one knee, apologizing. "I'm sorry, Your Honor." Tang Xiao, however, remained unfazed, his expression stoic, a stark contrast to his earlier panic. He dismissed Ulu Ulix with a wave of his hand and took a seat. Ulu Ulix quickly took the pilot's seat, steering the shuttle back to the Titan battleship Plague. The formidable warship, measuring 14,100 meters in length, began to pivot, accelerating until it escaped the gravitational pull of the nearby celestial body. Moments later, the hyperspace engine activated, emitting a brilliant white light before the ship vanished into the void. Upon reaching the medical laboratory aboard the Plague, Tang Xiao was greeted by the sight of Darth Lilim and, astonishingly, two other versions of himself. One clone donned a black cloak, eyes shut, utterly still, while the other, clad in a combat uniform, bore a stern expression. Master, although you've successfully transferred your soul and consciousness into this cloned body using the essence transfer technique, there was no need to discard your original body, Darth Lilim remarked, her tone a mix of concern and reprimand as she cradled the cloaked body of Tang Xiao. She made it clear that she held no interest in the clone, her loyalty firmly with her master's original form. Count Dooku, being one of the galaxy's most formidable Force users, can only be deceived if my true body is present. Its inherent dark side energy is necessary to mask our intentions, Tang Xiao explained, moving to another part of the laboratory. He lay down in a medical pod filled with a fibronectin culture solution. A medical droid promptly attached various cables to his head. Meanwhile, Darth Lilim prepared Tang Xiao's original body, placing it into another pod. The machines whirred to life, facilitating the return of Tang Xiao's soul and life essence to his original form through the fibronectin solution, a medium requiring the sacrifice of hundreds of Force-sensitive individuals to procure. Tang Xiao had anticipated Count Dooku's malice when the invitation was extended. Thus, he employed the essence transfer technique, sending a clone in his stead to the meeting. This precaution was set. Should anything go awry, Darth Lilim was to use his original body to establish communication, with a T-850 droid mimicking Tang Xiao's voice for any necessary dialogue, the content of which Lilim would dictate. The Titan battleship, Plague's aggressive maneuver, activating energy overload and firing its supermaterial electromagnetic cannon, served a dual purpose. It was not only a show of force to Count Dooku, but also a statement. In the eyes of the dead angel, Tang Xiao was merely a pawn. This act effectively dispelled any suspicions Count Dooku might have harbored towards Tang Xiao. Vol 2, Chapter 635, The Gift of Darkness. Tang Xiao opened his eyes, and his memory seemed enriched with new content. He had ventured alone to the appointment on the battleship Fang Fang, witnessing the maiden voyage of the super battleship. He had also been kidnapped and interrogated by Count Dooku. Fortunately, he had managed everything well, emerging unscathed from what could have been a perilous situation. Raising his hand, Tang Xiao summoned the formidable power of the dark side, which began to swirl between his palms. With a firm squeeze, an invisible force rippled through the void. Darth Lilim and Ulu Ulix, who were nearby, immediately knelt on one knee, respectfully greeting, "Welcome back, my lord." Tang Xiao remained silent, rising from the medical cabin. He noticed the previously clear fibril culture solution was now murky, being drained away. It appeared that the essence transfer technique had rendered the materials harvested from 100 Force-sensitive individuals unusable. However, this was of little concern to him. Despite the scarcity of Jedi Knights, the galaxy was teeming with Force-sensitive individuals who, for various reasons, had not been trained as Jedi. To Tang Xiao, abducting, killing, and refining such individuals was a trivial task. The galaxy's vastness meant that with enough power, one could obtain anything. This line of thought did not stir any guilt within Tang Xiao. His descent into the dark side had profoundly altered his morals and actions. Had Darth Plagueis been alive, he would have undoubtedly declared Tang Xiao a true Sith Lord. Since his arrival in this world through time travel, Tang Xiao had faced numerous dangers. To ensure the survival and dominance of the Fourth Civilization, he had embraced the darkness wholeheartedly. Under Darth Plagueis' tutelage, both he and the civilization had grown stronger. However, this power came at a cost. The Fourth Civilization was embroiled in endless conflict, and Tang Xiao's own nature had become increasingly dark and extreme. The notion of enjoying the benefits of a situation without facing its consequences was a fantasy. Tang Xiao's 3-year wager with Darth Plagueis had resulted in a paradoxical outcome, both victory and defeat for each party. Tang Xiao had won, as Plagueis' death after 3 years allowed him to inherit the Sith Lord's legacy, elevating him from a mere pawn to a formidable player in the galaxy. Yet, he had also lost, for Plagueis' death did not free him from the dark side's grasp. Instead, he sank deeper into its shadows. Plagueis, on the other hand, had lost his life and seen his century-long plans dismantled by Darth Sidious and Tang Xiao. His dream of dominating the galaxy had evaporated. However, he had also won, for his demise gave rise to 2 even more powerful and darker Sith Lords, Darth Sidious and Darth Malthael. The galaxy's future was now cloaked in darkness. Standing naked, Tang Xiao allowed Darth Lilim to assist him in dressing. He then approached another medical cabin, where the cloned body he had used lay cold and lifeless. With a wave of his hand, a medical robot removed the corpse for disposal. The Fourth Civilization's Biological Research Department, led by Anat Birkin, had recently developed human cloning technology. Although this technology was part of the Resident Evil scientific data, it was initially costly and produced only unconscious bodies. The cloning technology of the Kaminoans in Star Wars is a sophisticated process that involves cultivating individuals from fertilized eggs in culture tanks, allowing them to grow rapidly. However, these clones are initially just bodies without consciousness. In contrast, the Resident Evil series utilizes cloning technology to create biological weapons by mutating these bodies with the T-virus during their growth phase and controlling them through biochips or nemesis parasites. Tang Xiao, however, envisioned a more advanced application of this technology by integrating it with the memory transfer technology from Eve. This combination will enable the use of unconscious cloned bodies as carriers for transferred memories, enhancing their utility. Moreover, Tang Xiao contemplated employing an even more sophisticated method, essence transfer. This technique, a forbidden Sith practice, involves transferring the entirety of one's life essence, including the soul and consciousness, into a new body. This method could potentially overcome the limitations of Eve's memory transfer technology, which only replicates the individual's memories and body, leaving the original person effectively deceased. Despite its potential, essence transfer has a significant drawback. It cannot transfer the Force. Consequently, when Tang Xiao transfers his essence into another body, he would lose his extraordinary abilities, becoming an ordinary individual. This limitation renders the technique incomplete and Tang Xiao's quest for true immortality unfulfilled. Even if perfected, this form of immortality, which relies on continually changing bodies, would only offer a semblance of eternal life, far from genuine immortality. Tang Xiao confidently stated, "Now, Count Dooku should have no further suspicions about me and won't associate me with Darth Malthael again. This will make our future endeavors much smoother. He would never suspect that the plague would dare to attack while I was aboard. Even if that body were to perish, my consciousness could easily return to my original body through the rough Primarch link, rendering the loss inconsequential." Darth Lilim, with a playful smile, praised, "The Lord's wisdom knows no bounds, outmaneuvering Count Dooku as if he were a mere child. He surely owes us compensation." Tang Xiao cautioned, "Never underestimate an opponent. To deceive Count Dooku, I spared no effort, even exposing my original body in front of the communicator and harnessing the dark side power within me. This convinced Count Dooku that the Angel of Death was indeed on the plague, and not just Tang Xiao." Curious, Darth Lilim inquired, "But why did you entrust the Titan battleship Plague to Count Dooku's command?" With a sly chuckle, Tang Xiao replied, "The Plague is Darth Plagueis' legacy. Anyone aware of the Plague's existence and its significance would naturally deduce its origins. Imagine Darth Sidious's reaction upon discovering that such a formidable battleship is part of Plagueis' legacy." Volume 2, Chapter 636, The Battle of Christopher Sis, 6. On the planet Christopher Heath, co-chairman of the Enterprise Alliance, Pascal Argent, had finally resolved to escalate his commitment to winning this affluent planet. With the depletion of available battleships, Argent mustered a fleet of cargo-class transport ships, loading them with millions of B-1 battle droids and B-2 super battle droids, and set course for Christopher Sis. Meanwhile, at the planet's outskirts, Republic Fleet Commander Wolf Uralin and Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi having nearly completed their landing operations, were preparing to counterattack the Confederate fleet led by Admiral Trench. Amidst this, a civilian passenger ship made its way into the Republic's fleet, docking at the hangar platform of Obi-Wan's flagship, the Negotiator-class battlecruiser. Anakin Skywalker emerged from the ship, turning to address the frightened passengers with an apologetic bow. "I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but due to the urgency of the war, I had to commandeer this vessel and bring you into the battlefield. However, please be assured that the situation is under our control and you are safe. You may now return home," he assured them before gesturing for them to leave. The pilot of the passenger ship nodded, albeit with a hint of nervousness, and promptly agreed to depart. "Anakin!" Obi-Wan approached, rebuking him. "How could you commandeer a civilian ship for the battlefield, especially one carrying at least 200 passengers?" Anakin, visibly frustrated, explained, "The spaceport on Rhodia was overrun with refugees. This was the only way to arrive here swiftly." "But if Rhodia's spaceport was that crowded, how did you manage to secure a spacecraft?" Obi-Wan inquired, sensing a discrepancy. Anakin hesitated, guilt creeping into his voice. "I couldn't, not on my own. I had to seek assistance. Someone used their authority to secure a ship for me to commandeer temporarily." "And who might that be?" Obi-Wan pressed. "Speaker Palpatine," Anakin admitted. Obi-Wan shook his head disapprovingly. Despite the urgency, this was not the right approach. "No, it was necessary," Anakin protested, his voice rising as he gestured towards Christopher Sis. "There are 35 billion lives at risk from separatist forces here. I've just secured Gadu the Hutt's cooperation, ensuring we could send reinforcements, and those 200 civilians were merely passing through the battlefield under our fleet's protection." "Enough, Anakin. You've overstepped significantly this time. After the battle, you must return to the Jedi Order to report and face the consequences," Obi-Wan declared sternly. "Reflect on our duty as Jedi. We are meant to be guardians of the people, not their endangerment." Realizing his error, Anakin was taken aback. He lowered his head, remorseful. "I'm sorry, Master. It was my mistake. I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate." Obi-Wan sighed, softening slightly. "The next wave of Republic reinforcements is on its way, but the situation on planet Farron is deteriorating. Worse still, our outpost near planet Reese was ambushed. The fleet, including 3 chasseurs and 10 frigates, was completely destroyed before they could even send a distress signal. Due to these security concerns, the Supreme Strategic Command has decided to halt further reinforcements to Christopher Sis. This is the last batch we can expect." "A squadron destroyed without sending a distress signal? And what do you mean by completely destroyed?" Anakin inquired, concerned. "Exactly as it sounds," Obi-Wan responded. "The images from the investigating spacecraft are in the database, though I would advise against viewing them." After a moment, Obi-Wan sighed once more. "Let's go." Anakin Skywalker was tasked with a crucial mission by the Supreme Strategic Command to lead the 501st Legion, consisting of 9,216 soldiers, as part of the 327th Corps under the 13th Army, directly into battle on the planet of Christophsis. This order, personally issued by Chancellor Palpatine, highlight the trust and expectations placed in Anakin. Acknowledging the responsibility, Anakin expressed his determination to swiftly engage the separatist forces on Christophsis, aiming to restore peace to the beleaguered planet. Obi-Wan Kenobi, understanding the urgency of their mission, emphasized the precarious situation they were in. The mysterious force that had decimated the Reese planetary squadron remained at large, leaving them vulnerable. To support ground operations and secure a strategic advantage, Obi-Wan planned to join Admiral Uralin in launching an offensive against the separatist fleet orbiting Christophsis. Without delay, Anakin headed to the hangar platform, where his Delta-7 fighter jet awaited. The droid R2-D2, previously assigned to Senator Padme Amidala, was prepared for the mission. With a sense of resolve, Anakin ignited the engines, declaring their mission to liberate Christophsis as they set course for the planet. Meanwhile, the battle for Christophsis intensified as convoys from the Corporate Alliance and the Retail Guild arrived to reinforce the separatist forces. Despite having a numerical advantage in warships, Admiral Trench found himself at a tactical disadvantage against the Republic's fleet. The era of starfighters had shifted the balance of power, rendering his larger ships vulnerable to the agile Y-wing bombers. The Republic's fighters, escorting Y-wing bombers, unleashed a devastating assault on the Separatist fleet. Higra-class battlecruisers and Generosity-class frigates were crippled by the bombers' proton torpedoes, creating an opening for the Republic's ground forces. On the surface of Christophsis, the arrival of millions of battle droids from the Separatist transport fleet bolstered the forces under General Worm Lortham. Determined to seize control of Crystal City, the planet's capital, Worm Lortham launched a fierce offensive. Aware that the space fleet's support might soon falter, he committed every available unit to the battle, hoping for a decisive victory. Note: the 501st Legion's composition and numbers were carefully researched, drawing on available sources and the established lore of the Grand Republic Army. The standard complement of 7,000 combat troops, supplemented by logistics personnel and armored units, totals 9,216 soldiers, fitting the requirements for an assault landing ship. This detail aims to maintain accuracy within the narrative, and any corrections or clarifications from readers are welcome. Vol 2, Chapter 607, Ahsoka Tano. All forces advance. I intend to capture Crystal City by today. Worm Lortham, seated in his command vehicle, a transformed ATT armored assault tank, issued the order with fervor. Aware that this was his final opportunity, he deployed all his armored units. A vast number of NRN-99 Persuader-class droid tanks charged furiously down the central thoroughfare of Crystal City. They were supported by Octopala tri-legged droids providing fire support, while the skies were dominated by over 500 Vulture droid fighters, all concentrated on this battlefield to offer air cover for his legion. In the tumultuous skies above, swarms of Vulture droid fighters and Republic V-19 light fighter jets engaged in a desperate dogfight, with jets being shot down almost every second. On the ground, B-1 battle droids advanced in formation, unleashing continuous fire. Their blaster beams rained down on the defenders' positions within Crystal City like a storm. The city's defenses, manned by Republic clone troopers and the Christoph Sith militia, comprising 30,000 clones and over 800,000 militia members, were on the verge of collapse. The militia, though largely ineffective beyond taking cover behind bunkers and firing sporadically, added value to the battlefield simply by their ability to return fire amidst the overwhelming onslaught of droids. The clone troopers, always the first to engage and the last to retreat, would secure the fortifications, establishing a preliminary line of defense before allowing the militia to join them. This strategy prevented the fortifications from descending into chaos. As the droid army advanced, the clone troopers covered the retreat of the militia, who were in a near-panic state, facing the relentless droid assault. The defenders fought a retreating battle, utilizing the dense urban environment of Crystal City for cover. However, the Droid Legion adopted a merciless approach this time. Previously, Worm Lortham had hesitated to target civilians directly, but now he ordered the droids into a mode of total annihilation. Any location suspected of harboring resistance received a barrage of rockets, and any structure impeding their advance was razed to the ground. Refugee camps and shelters were not spared if they obstructed the droid army's path. It was at this critical juncture that Anakin Skywalker arrived on the battlefield. Piloting a fighter jet, he joined forces with the local defense air force of the planet Christophsis, battling a large contingent of Vulture droid fighters. After creating an opening, he landed in the planetary capital, Crystal City. Prime Minister Modice of Christophsis was nowhere to be found, having sought refuge elsewhere. Only a few generals from the Homeland Defense Command and the clone commander remained to oversee the defense. "How's the situation?" Anakin inquired as he entered the command center. "General." A clone commander approached him with a salute. Anakin recognized him as Rex, a captain of the 501st Legion. "I'm relieved to see you've all returned alive from the planet Tess," Anakin remarked with a nod. "It's our duty," Rex responded. "What's the status of the battle?" Anakin pressed. "To be honest, it's dire. The Separatist droid army is attacking relentlessly. Their numbers are so overwhelming that we've been forced to retreat 7 kilometers just this morning. Currently, we're establishing a new defensive line at the commercial square. The area's complex of buildings of varying heights offers an ideal setup for our multi-dimensional firepower, Rex explained. And the self-propelled guns? Anakin queried. At the moment, we're utilizing a batch of AZ-7 self-propelled artillery. We've established 3 artillery positions here, here, and here, Rex pointed out on the map. However, these positions were targeted by separatist fighter jets this morning and Rex highlighted a location on the holographic map, indicating areas that had not fully recovered yet. Anakin, after a moment of contemplation, spoke up, merely defending is not enough. We must take the offensive and prioritize the destruction of the separatists' armored units. His gaze was fixed on the map as he began to formulate a strategy. Just then, another clone trooper approached and reported, General, we've just received word that additional reinforcements have arrived from the rear and are currently landing at the central spaceport of Crystal City. Anakin responded with a sense of optimism. Excellent. With this new mobile force, our chances of executing our plan have significantly improved. Let's head to the spaceport first. With that, he quickly made his way out. A clone commander, puzzled, inquired, Forgive me, but did General Skywalker mention what his plan was? Rex, picking up his helmet and smiling, replied as he followed, He's planning an offensive. Upon arriving at the spaceport, they were greeted by the sight of more than 10 Republic-class shuttles landing. Given the small scale of transportation, the Galactic Republic often opted for these shuttles. Measuring 80 meters in length, they were more flexible and cost-effective than the larger Cheer-class assault landing ships. Clone troopers disembarked from the spacecraft, coordinating with construction machinery to unload various materials from the transport ships. The reinforcements consisted of 1,000 clone soldiers, ammunition supplies, and 50 AZ-7 light self-propelled artillery units. Though the numbers are modest, these self-propelled guns will be crucial in stabilizing our position. A secure rear will facilitate our attack, and frankly, I couldn't ask for more, Anakin remarked as he took a list from an officer and signed it. At that moment, a young girl from Togruta approached Anakin and asked timidly, Excuse me, are you Master Anakin Skywalker? Anakin glanced at her and responded somewhat dismissively, Oh, you must be mistaken. You're Obi-Wan's new apprentice, right? I heard he was taking on a new student since my training has concluded, but he's not here. He's engaged in a space battle. The girl persisted. I believe there's no mistake. You are my master. She introduced herself with a serious tone. My name is Ahsoka Tano, Jedi apprentice. I look forward to learning from you, master. Anakin, taken aback, gave the girl a closer look. She was young, perhaps around 13 or 14, with healthy light brown skin and the distinctive striped tentacles of the Togruta people draping down from her temples. A lightsaber hung from her waist. He exclaimed in disbelief, This must be a mistake. The Jedi Order was supposed to assign the new apprentice to Obi-Wan, not me. Ahsoka confidently replied, I'm certain there's no error. If you have doubts, perhaps you should consult Master Yoda himself. He personally made this arrangement. Anakin, clearly frustrated, retorted, This is impossible. I'll have to verify this with the Jedi Order once the conflict here is resolved. Moreover, why would they send someone as young as you to a battlefield? Ahsoka, feeling challenged, raised her voice. If I recall correctly, you weren't much older than me when you started. Regardless, I am your apprentice. This matter is settled, Master Skywalker. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Ahsoka Tano. Vol 2, Chapter 638, The Battle of Christophsis, 7. Anakin's temper flared upon hearing Ahsoka refer to him as Tian Xingzi. Hey, at the very least, I am still your master. Is this how you show disrespect to your master, you little devil? He chided. Ahsoka, visibly dissatisfied yet compliant, lowered her head and corrected herself. Okay, I understand, master. Good. Now, I'm about to embark on a raid mission. You should stick with Rex for now and learn how to survive on the battlefield. Anakin instructed, handing Ahsoka over to Rex before moving aside to regroup with the new reinforcements and prepare for the raid. Indeed, a raid was what Anakin had conceived. He was determined to never halt his assault. Alongside Rex, he led the elite company of the 501st Legion, the Torrent Company, in a daring raid through the commercial center of the city. Their target was a Confederate tank force advancing on the front lines. Their attack disrupted the droid army's planned offensive, leaving the frontline droid troops without sufficient heavy support. Consequently, the enemy's attack faltered once again. Following this, the clone troopers began establishing robust air defense positions. With increasing support from V-19 fighters in space, the Confederate Vulture droid fighters dwindled in number, making it nearly impossible for them to provide air cover. This allowed the clone troopers to set up several new artillery positions. The AV-7 artillery units unleashed their formidable power, bombarding the droid troops of the Confederacy into disarray, rendering them incapable of mounting any significant offensive. Witnessing this turn of events, Worm Lortham realized the battle was lost and led his forces to retreat to the eastern suburbs. The Galactic Republic, through sheer determination, managed to turn the tide, and Anakin wasted no time in preparing for a counterattack. However, launching a counterattack proved more challenging. The droid army still numbered in the millions, and the forces of Christophsis lacked the courage to leave their bunkers. Worm Lortham, seeking assistance, reached out to the Corporate Alliance only to be met with furious reprimands from Pascal Argent. Argent blamed Worm Lortham's incompetence for the predicament of the millions of troops mired in the conflict on Christophsis. Worm Lortham, feeling helpless, explained that without air supremacy, additional droid reinforcements would be futile. With barely 100 Vulture droid fighters remaining, unable to even protect his command center, he questioned how they were expected to fight. Pascal Argent, frustrated, directed his anger towards Admiral Trench. However, Trench responded that the fleet had already been stretched to its limits and could do no more. He suggested that the blame lay with the Hutts for drawing the Republic fleet into the conflict. On the battlefield, numerical superiority often dictates the outcome. Unless there is a significant disparity in the skills of the commanders, victory with a smaller force is nearly impossible. The Republic's commanders, Admiral Wolf Yularen and Obi-Wan Kenobi, were not significantly outmatched by Trench. In fact, given the circumstances, it was difficult to argue that anyone could have outperformed Admiral Trench. Admiral Trench managed to survive the Republic fleet's onslaught, albeit with difficulty. He concentrated his forces near the planet Christophsis' satellite, using its gravitational field to hinder the Republic's fighter jets from advancing too deeply, a risky maneuver. Fortunately for Trench, the Republic had not yet deployed ARC-170 heavy fighters. If they had, retreat would have been his only option. After disrupting the enemy's fighter forces, the formidable ship-to-ship firepower of the Higuera-class battlecruisers, Generosity-class frigates, and Disobedient-class light destroyers were deployed into action. Admiral Wolf Yularen, concerned about potential unnecessary losses to the fleet, chose not to engage in direct pursuit. Instead, he blockaded Trench's fleet and dispatched fighter squadrons to the atmosphere of planet Christopher Sis to bolster ground operations. Faced with this dire situation, Pascal Argent found himself in a state of desperation. He was too apprehensive to seek assistance from Count Dooku, so he turned to Walter Tamber, the foreman of the Technology Alliance, and Newt Gunley, the governor of the Trade Alliance, for help. However, Tamber was preoccupied with an assault on the planet Raynor, and Gunley was plotting a betrayal against the planet Rodea, leaving them both uninterested in Argent's plight. In a last-ditch effort, Argent approached San Hill, co-chairman of the Interstellar Banking Association, and Gross Shelbia, director of the Fourth Group. They informed him that their fleets were already engaged by the Galactic Republic's main fleet on the planet Makito, making them hesitant to take any bold actions. If we don't send reinforcements, Christopher Sis will fall completely. The Croydons will realign with the Republic, and we'll lose our chance to ever attack this planet again. Argent exclaimed in frustration. Sandhill responded with a sly smile. It's unfortunate, but if the Republic is forced to maintain a large garrison on Christopher Sis, it could serve to distract their forces. But my investments will be lost, Argent lamented. I'm sorry, my friend, but in business, gains and losses are normal. What do you think? Thornhill replied pragmatically. Please, I need help. My assault on Camino failed, and I was forced to retreat from Bassa. If this continues, I'll be completely sidelined in this war," Argent pleaded. At this stage, the corporate magnates viewed the war as a lucrative venture, reluctant to incur significant losses early on that could jeopardize their share of the spoils. "I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do," Thornhill said, turning to Gross Shelby. "Miss Shelby, do you have any fleets available to support the Enterprise Alliance?" "If the Enterprise Alliance can break the Republic's siege of the Makito and Murinster systems, then yes, we could provide a fleet," Shelby stated coldly. Argent knew this was an impossible task. After a moment of contemplation, he said, "Lord Hill, you're my last hope. I'm willing to meet any conditions if it means winning the battle for Christopher Sis." Sandhill smirked. "There might be a way, but—" Argent's eyes sparkled with hope. "If it's feasible, I'm willing to give up half of Christopher Sis's future revenues." 90%, Sandhill interjected sharply, "and you must follow orders." Stunned, Argent's spirit deflated. "I understand." Sandhill's sly smile returned. "We've recently developed a new type of warship in collaboration with the Fourth Group, currently undergoing trials near Tatooine. These are experimental warships, and deploying them in actual combat will be costly." "I understand," Argent murmured. "Additionally, recruiting soldiers from under the Hutt's noses will require greasing palms both high and low." "Yes. And a competent commander is crucial." "Yes. The Republic has a formidable array of fighter jets. We'll need a strategy to counter them." "Yes. So you see, the cost is substantial. Do you still think 90% is too much to ask?" "Not at all. Not at all." "Then, we have an agreement," Sandhill concluded with a cold smile, ending the communication. "Parcel Argent has conceded. Your strategy was exceedingly effective, Lord Governor." After a brief pause, Sandhill's tone shifted noticeably as he spoke to Tang Xiao through the communicator. Gone was the arrogance he had displayed in front of Parcel Argente earlier. Now, he wore a congenial smile, resembling more of a supportive ally than a haughty superior. Tang Xiao, pleased with the turn of events, responded with a satisfied smile. "Excellent. With this, we've successfully advanced our plan to bring the corporate alliance onto our side. Now, Severance Tan, it's your turn to strike." For those eager to continue this adventure, you can bookmark this page by clicking on Favorites below. This act, Ion, will save your current reading progress. Chapter 640, The Battle of Christophus, Seth, ensuring you can easily resume from where you left off the next time you access your bookshelf. If you've enjoyed Star Wars: The Fourth Calamity, consider sharing this novel with your friends through QQ, blogs, WeChat, and other platforms. Your support is greatly appreciated. Vol 2, Chapter 639, Disinformation. Star Wars: The Fourth Calamity, Admiral Trench, with a hint of satisfaction in his voice, remarked, "Has Parcel Argent finally succumbed? Excellent." He licked his limbs, a habit that seemed to betray his anticipation. "Given the circumstances, it's time for me to prepare as well." In the holographic projection before him, the figure of Severance Tan appeared. "My fleet is already in position near the planet Tatooine, merely seconds away from Christopher Sis. We can launch a surprise attack on the Republic's fleet at any moment. Just ensure you don't disappoint me, Spider." "I'm not familiar with what a spider is," Admiral Trench responded, his tone not betraying anger but carrying a clear note of dissatisfaction. "But you should show me respect. After all, we hold equivalent ranks." "Respect? We'll discuss that after you've proven your worth," Severance Tan replied coldly. "Stick to the plan and focus on disseminating false information. Don't cause any complications." Admiral Trench ended the communication, unwilling to engage further. Yet the battle plan was still a priority, and he promptly contacted Army Commander Worm Lortham. General Worm Lortham immediately voiced his complaints upon connection. "Admiral Trench, I hope you have a better strategy in mind. Following your advice has led my forces to suffer significant losses. It's now impossible to capture Christopher Sis. I will report this failure and your negligence to headquarters. I refuse to take responsibility for this debacle." "It seems the early victories have clouded your judgment, General Worm," Admiral Trench retorted coldly. "Reflect on your defeats with your professional expertise. Do you truly believe they resulted from my counsel to conserve your strength? And remember, the traitor is merely a sergeant. His impact on the war is minimal." Worm Lortham, frustrated, declared, When it's time to assign blame for the defeat, don't look at me. You need to remain calm, General Worm, Admiral Trench advised, unfazed. Even if you're correct, capturing Christopher Sis was beyond your capability. However, I have a strategy that could turn our defeat into victory. What could you possibly do? Worm inquired, skepticism evident in his tone. Fleet maneuvers, of course, Admiral Trench revealed. Commander-in-Chief of the Western Theater Command, Tang Xiao, still commands a fleet. That's impossible. Tang Xiao lacks the authority to traverse several war zones from Dawn Planet to Christopher Sis. Such action would constitute a serious violation of jurisdiction. Besides, he surely doesn't underestimate the Republic's 19th Army, Wormlortham argued, his understanding of military intelligence clear despite his recent failures. His fleet won't actually move, Admiral Trench explained, but we need the Republic to believe it will. That's ludicrous. Even if we send false information, the Republic fleet commander will scrutinize it and see through our deception, Wormlortham countered. They won't have the time to verify it, Admiral Trench assured. We'll involve our reliable traitor, CI-3331, Sergeant Slick, to execute this plan. But how will this influence the battle? Worm asked, his skepticism persisting. This is merely one component of a broader strategy, Admiral Trench stated calmly, once again licking his limbs. 22 Boi, August 5th, in the asteroid belt near the Tibbling system, a Galactic Republic outpost operates on a large asteroid. The garrison there is engaged in intensive work. Captain, we have intercepted a hyperspace communication. Again, exclaimed the soldier seated before the detection instrument, turning to address the room. The signal originated from planet Bespin once more, but its destination remains a mystery. Again? A Republic captain approached, donned the headphones, and after a moment of careful listening, swiftly jotted down several characters on a piece of paper, encircling a few with precision. Holding up the note, he declared, "This last hyperspace communication contains numerous relevant terms. Send it immediately to the intelligence department at the rear for decryption." Understood, came the prompt response. At the headquarters of the 19th Army of the Galactic Republic on planet Haven, within the bustling General Intelligence Department, an officer announced, "The forward outpost has intercepted another hyperspace communication from planet Bespin." Rapidly entering commands into the computer, the officer transferred the intelligence data onto a memory device, stood, and inserted it into a robot's socket. The robot sprang to life, its screen flickering with an array of numbers and text, rapidly cycling through various encryption methods. Soon, however, a message flashed across the screen. Analysis failed. The analysis still hasn't succeeded, the officer sighed, removing the memory device and passing it to Colonel Lott, the Minister of Intelligence, who stood nearby. Colonel Lotte, with a swift motion, projected the contents onto the room's central holographic display, which was already awash with a dense constellation of data. This must be deciphered. The volume of outgoing communications from planet Bespin has surged more than tenfold recently. This indicates a significant development among the separatists there, he stated, his brow furrowed in concern. However, despite some patterns in the encryption, we're still missing crucial information to fully understand the messages. For instance, an intelligence officer pointed out, highlighting a deciphered phrase on the display. These 3 words have been decoded from a frequently used code, yet their meaning eludes us. Colonel Lott studied the displayed words Xianjia shovel thoughtfully. Given their repeated occurrence, these words must hold significant importance. They could denote a weapon, a fleet's codename, or even the location of their next operation. Our decryption suggests the first word's meaning is ambiguous, the second implies a dwelling, and the third a tool for engineering. But together, the officer trailed off puzzled. Even when considering pronunciation, it doesn't match any known terms diverging from standard pronunciations. We need a breakthrough, a key to their plans. Without it, Planet Dawn faces a grave threat, Colonel Lott mused. Colonel, we've just received reports that the separatist fleet at Planet Bespin is mobilizing. Numerous transport ships are moving between Planet Bespin and Planet Dawn, another officer reported urgently. Colonel Lott's expression darkened. He immediately opened a communication line to Governor Suramar of the 19th Army. Mr. Governor, We've learned that the Separatist fleet at planet Bespin is assembling. It appears they're preparing to depart. Do we have any insight into their objectives? Governor Suramar inquired anxiously. I'm afraid not. Despite intercepting a wealth of communications from Bespin, the codes remain uncracked, Colonel Lott admitted with a heavy sigh. With the Separatist fleet on the move and our intelligence still in the dark, the situation could escalate rapidly if we don't uncover their plans soon. Surama, usually the epitome of calm, couldn't contain her frustration any longer and roared, "Are they planning to join forces to attack the planet Carl? Or perhaps they intend to flee elsewhere? We'll address it when they make their move. By then, it might be too late." Colonel Lott responded with a sense of urgency. "We will certainly resolve this as quickly as possible. Currently, we've intercepted a code that recurs frequently. It has been deciphered as the mysterious phrase, Xianjia Shovel. Understanding its significance could lead to a major breakthrough in our intelligence efforts." "Then proceed," Surama commanded, ending the communication abruptly. Meanwhile, deep beneath the bustling streets of Coruscant, the capital of the Galactic Republic, in a dimly lit bar located 134 floors underground, a mysterious man clad in black made his entrance. He ordered a nondescript glass of wine, sat in a secluded corner, and discreetly placed a credit ingot, barely worth a coin, under the glass. Before long, a middle-aged man, drenched in sweat and visibly terrified, approached. He eyed the credit ingot under the wine glass, hesitated, but eventually mustered the courage to sit down. In a hushed tone, he inquired, "Excuse me, are you Mr. 007? The man in black, taking a drag from his cigarette, replied coolly, "Mr. Quintero, gambling is a risky habit, especially when it leads to embezzling public funds to cover your debts. Associating with the gangsters of Corellia only compounds your problems." Quintero, his voice barely above a whisper, pleaded, "Please, let's keep this between us. I'll do anything you ask." "You're aware that the White Worm organization from Corellia, led by Mrs. Bixie, is hunting for you, correct?" The man in black continued, causing Quintero to shudder in fear. "I'll do it. Just tell me what you want." Quintero exclaimed, desperate to escape his predicament. The man in black, revealing a face with mature features and captivating lake-blue eyes beneath his wide-brimmed hat, smirked. "Do you even have any money left?" Quintero was at a loss for words, but the man in black offered an alternative. "If you can assist me with a small favor, I'll ensure your safety in return." Eager for any solution, Quintero agreed. "Just say it. I'll do anything." The man in black leaned closer, whispering a request that caused Quintero's complexion to shift from pale to flushed with embarrassment and fear. After a moment, he stammered, "You, Mr. 007, you truly are cunning." Raising a finger, 07 corrected him. "I don't leave such obvious traces. Besides, it's best you don't know too much. Your family, living far from the Outer Ring's strife, has nothing to do with this. Your wife and daughter are safe on Alderaan, and your mother is currently visiting Cham." "Enough! I'll do it. Just please, leave my family out of this," Quintero interrupted, overwhelmed by fear. 007 flashed a charming smile. "Then, you'd better hope I return safely." The following day, 07, now dressed in the crisp uniform of the Galactic Republic's Intelligence Department, confidently approached the intelligence building. As he passed through the security checkpoint, the scanner bathed him in light before a green signal flashed, and a soft electronic voice welcomed, "Welcome, Chief Intelligence Officer, Major James Bond." He flashed a disarming smile at the receptionist and proceeded with his briefcase in hand, making his way to the heart of the intelligence operations. In the data terminal room, James Bond, also known as 007, presented an electronic authorization to the manager at the entrance. "I need to access some information. Here's my authorization," he stated confidently. The manager, a tall individual from the Bassa region, examined the authorization closely, then shifted his gaze to 007, a hint of confusion in his eyes. "James? Major Bond? I don't recall having met you before." "Oh, we've crossed paths a few times, Mr. Michael. How's your second wife? Last I heard, she was expecting." "Congratulations," 07 replied with a charming smile. Caught off guard, the manager replied, Oh yes, she's doing quite well. Thank you for asking." Any lingering doubts seemed to dissipate as he inserted the authorization into the computer. Upon verifying its authenticity, he allowed 07 to proceed. 07 made his way to the data terminal and, with a sly grin, inserted a small memory device into the mainframe. Meanwhile, at the intelligence department of the 19th Army on Planet Haven, a robot tasked with compiling code suddenly flashed a green light from its eyes. An intelligence officer nearby quickly retrieved the memory device the robot had accessed. Upon reviewing its contents, his expression turned grave, and he hurried to Colonel Lote. "Colonel, the intelligence has been deciphered," he exclaimed. Colonel Lote's expression darkened with concern. "Deciphered?" he echoed, snatching the memory device to review its tense. His shock grew with every line he read. "No, this is catastrophic. Xianjia Shovel. Xianjia Shovel is the code name from planet Christopher Sis." This revelation hinted at a looming disaster, one that could change the course of their operations and possibly the fate of entire planets. The gravity of the situation was clear, and the implications of this intelligence were far-reaching and ominous. Vol 2, Chapter 640, The Impressive Strategy, Star Wars, The Fourth Calamity. New book by Heige. Find the latest chapter. Xianjia Shovel is the planet of Christopher Sis. Star map. Quick. Colonel Lote commanded loudly. Also, confirm the source of the intelligence. Where is the updated decryption information in the database? Send a receipt immediately. The intelligence department sprang into action. Some officers dispatched communications to verify the intelligence source, while others replaced the countless records on the holographic projection with a vast star map. The computer rapidly processed the data, leading Colonel Lote to break out in a sweat. Damn, they might actually pull this off. If the Separatist fleet departs from the planet Bespin, they could travel in the opposite direction along the Corellian Passage. By crossing the neutral zone and entering the planet of Mustafa, and then taking the Hydia trade route from Mustafa, they could circumvent the 18th Army's defensive line under Governor Wilhoff Takin and directly enter the Separatist-controlled area. He feverishly manipulated the computer, issuing simulated commands. After simulating thousands of potential routes, the computer highlighted the most probable ones. Colonel Lote studied the complex hyperspace routes on the star map and explained, under the most threatening scenario, they could use the branch line of the Keshel hyperspace channel from here, posing a threat to the planets of Naboo and Eniko. If we fail to block this hyperspace channel, the Separatist fleet could bypass our blockade and enter the planet Christopher Sis from another direction. Isn't that unlikely, a raid spanning more than half the galaxy? Questioned an intelligence officer, puzzled. The possibility exists, Colonel Lote mused. The battle for the planet Christopher Sis has reached a critical point, with the main Separatist fleet in that sector intercepting our reinforcements in the Farron system. Their nearest war zone is being contained by Governor Tarkin of the 18th Army, and reinforcements from other directions are blocked due to the Hutts closing the Hutt space border. If the Bespin fleet can successfully raid Christopher Sis, it would be a game-changing move. There's no doubt about it. Another intelligence agent approached and reported, "The intelligence source is confirmed, originating from the Republic Intelligence Headquarters in Coruscant." "And the credibility rating?" Colonel Lote inquired. "It's not specified, but the information was obtained through a unique pronunciation form native to the construction workers of a dawn planet, combining several syllables for ambiguous pronunciation. We haven't encountered this method before," the agent explained. Colonel Lote's expression darkened. Without a clear credibility rating, the responsibility fell squarely on his shoulders. A fleet's preparation and departure, including loading supplies, soldiers, and equipment, typically wouldn't exceed 3 days. This meant they had only 2 days to prepare if they were to intercept the Separatist fleet from Bespin. Failing to act could be seen as a grave dereliction of duty. As an intelligence officer, he had to make a decision and relay it to Governor Suramar. "What's the current number of Separatist fleets near Bespin?" he asked. The Separatist fleet near Bespin is designated Fleet A. The commander is Admiral Matt Horner. According to our latest intelligence, they possess 45 Cole-class battlecruisers, 10 Sova-class aircraft carriers, 6 Higera-class battlecruisers, along with numerous smaller auxiliary warships, though their exact number is unknown, an officer reported. Colonel Lott faced a daunting task. With limited time and the potential for a significant separatist maneuver, he had to strategize effectively to protect the galaxy from this unforeseen threat. The intelligence officer reported, "In the past month or so, our hyperspace stations have detected only a limited number of large ship movements, totaling 12. Therefore, we can infer that the number of enemy ships is relatively close to this figure." Colonel Lott nodded in agreement. "We now understand that Dawn Planet has 2 admirals at its disposal. Matt Horner demonstrated a very calm command style during the previous Battle of Bespin, while Severance Tan led a raid on the planet Salabin in the core area, causing widespread power outages. Her command style is cunning, unpredictable, and highly aggressive. Currently, her B fleet is stationed on the planet Noah Ha-Ang, directly confronting our defenses on the planet Karl." He manipulated the star map with a few clicks. "I believe Dawn Planet's strategic deployment of Fleet A on planet Bespin aims to secure control over the Corellian trade route, a vital hyperspace channel. This would facilitate the mobilization of their large-scale fleets. Given that Matt Horner is the commander here, their focus is evidently on security. Previous intelligence also suggests they are constructing a massive armed space station on planet Bespin. It seems their strategy involves freeing up the fleet here for an attack, all while ensuring Bespin's safety. Does this mean we can conclude that the Separatist fleet is targeting the planet Christopher Sis?" an intelligence officer inquired. "It's not a definitive conclusion, but rather a strategic assessment. Report this information to the governor of Suramar. We must also contact our insider on planet Bespin to ascertain the Separatists' true intentions," Lott instructed. Meanwhile, in the capital of the 19th Army on planet Haven, Governor Sarama reviewed the holographic projection with a grim expression. An elderly woman, clad in traditional Chinese attire, expressed her concerns. "The political climate on Coruscant is currently quite delicate. Following a series of defeats, the Republic is in need of a scapegoat to bear the blame. At yesterday's meeting, Speaker Palpatine openly supported the Jedi Order." She sighed before continuing. "Consequently, some council members are now scrutinizing the failures of the Bespin and Geonosis battles." Speaker Palpatine attributed the surprise defeat at Geonosis to the Separatists' tactics, which caught us off guard. As a result, the failed counterattack at Bespin, which drew significant attention from Coruscant, has become a focal point of criticism. Governor Sarama slammed her cane onto the ground in frustration. "Why am I constantly under scrutiny? Didn't Governor Bailuer of the 13th Army also suffer losses on planet Farron? Governor Bailuer is preoccupied with the ongoing conflict on planet Christopher Sis, and the 17th Army is currently reinforcing that front. It's naturally impossible to shift the blame onto him at this juncture," the elderly woman explained. "Where did this information originate?" Sarama asked sternly. "It's difficult to trace the source, but I'm aware that at least a dozen MPs have discussed it privately. The main concern is Speaker Palpatine's decision to launch another counterattack. The special power dock is now fully operational, providing us with nearly 100 additional battle cruisers for our mobile fleet. However, there's a possibility that clearing up past failures could serve to boost morale before the counteroffensive begins," she elaborated. As the communication ended, Sarama's expression darkened further, reflecting the weight of the challenges ahead. End of chapter 6, Confusion and Strategy. If you enjoyed Star Wars: The Fourth Natural Disaster, please consider recommending this book to your friends via QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Your support is greatly appreciated. Vol 2, Chapter 641, Opening. The message was succinct, containing only a single sentence. It is highly probable that the A fleet from planet Bespin will soon head to planet Christopher Sis. After pondering the message for a while, Suramar turned to the elderly woman on the communications screen and said, "Thank you for your diligence, Senator Terse. Please continue to monitor the developments from Coruscant closely." Senator Terse nodded in agreement. "Your priorities should not be entangled in parliamentary debates. As the commander of the 19th Army, achieving victory on the battlefield speaks volumes more than any speech in the parliament." Suramar nodded, absorbing her advice, and then ended the communication. On Coruscant, Senator Terse sighed as the holographic projection faded away. The sound of a door opening interrupted her thoughts, and she turned to see her daughter, adorned in an elegant evening gown, stepping into the room. Her beauty was undeniable, radiant as she asked, "How do I look, Mother? Is this dress suitable? What has made the pride of our family decide to grace us with her beauty?" Senator Terse joked. "It's Major James Bond, an intelligence officer I met recently. He's agreed to accompany me to the dance tonight," her daughter replied, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "A major from the intelligence department might not be worthy of you." Senator Terse remarked skeptically. "If he becomes my boyfriend, his future will extend far beyond just being a major," her daughter responded with enthusiasm. "Besides, the Prime Minister of the inner world of Undara and his second daughter will be at the dance tonight. I must ensure my date is the most distinguished there." "If it's the Prime Minister of Undara, perhaps you could get closer to his second daughter. His eldest son holds a position at the Supreme Strategic Command. It would be beneficial to learn about any potential counterattacks." Terse mused. "We could then better support Suramar and gain more leverage for ourselves," her daughter added, clearly familiar with the line of thought. "I'll keep an eye out, Mother." Suramar has been nurtured by our family to his current position as the sector governor. We must not let him be undermined by a failure at planet Bespin. "The intelligence you've provided is crucial for us," Terse emphasized. "In times of war, nothing brings us closer to the galactic core of power than military success. It's all thanks to my new acquaintance, Major James Bond. He managed to extract valuable information from the Palane family scion with just a few words. Without him, we'd be oblivious to the plot against Suramar on Bespin," her daughter boasted proudly. Meanwhile, on planet Christopher Sis, within the temporary headquarters of the Confederate Robot Corps in the eastern suburbs, a heated exchange was taking place. "You separatists are utterly useless. It's your incompetence that allows the Jedi Knights to trample over us, using us as cannon fodder for their personal glory," a man exclaimed angrily through the holographic projection. Notably, he was clad in the white aggregated alloy armor typical of the clone army. "Mind your language, CI-3331, Sergeant Slick. Regardless of your disdain for the Jedi, your rank hardly positions you to influence the outcome of this war. In my view, underestimating the Jedi is our gravest mistake," General Worm Lortham of the Croydon sector responded calmly. "You keep advising caution. Yet, when I disclosed Anakin Skywalker's plan to you, you hesitated," Slick retorted, frustration evident in his voice. "Falling into the trap so foolishly, my patience has reached its limit. Do you truly believe you have the capability to outwit a Jedi Knight?" Slicker said, his expression grim. Wormlotham responded coldly. "Last time, I saved your life at the cost of 8 three-legged droids and 11 NR N99 Persuader tanks. Did you think Anakin Skywalker would remain oblivious after that tip-off? Or did you believe a minor skirmish could change the course of the war? Don't try to deduce my strategy with your cloned intellect." "Well, now I'm eager to witness the effectiveness of your brilliant strategy," Slicker sneered. "Any plan requires action. Hesitate, and it will be the end of you," Worm Lortham quoted, showcasing a famous saying he had recently learned from a blue-skinned, red-eyed female Chiss general. He then inquired, "I tasked you with infiltrating the communication system of the Army on planet Christopher Sis. Have you succeeded?" 3 days ago, I embedded the Trojan program provided by the woman named Super Lotus into the mainframe of the Cheer-class assault landing ship I was assigned to. I also prepared a copy of Anakin Skywalker's hologram and audio and handed it over to her," Slicker reported. "Excellent, you see. We're off to a successful start," Worm Lortham laughed smugly. "Then what would you have me do next?" Slicker asked, his expression tinged with concern. "When the moment is right, send the distress signal I provided you," Worm instructed. "And how will I know when the time is right?" Slicker questioned. "Choose a moment when you feel the danger is at its peak." "Humph, you think your pile of scrap metal can pose a danger to me? I can take down 200 of your robots single-handedly. If that's the case, you might end up quite disappointed. I suggest you prepare for the worst." 22Y, August 8th. Pascal Argent, the chairman of the Corporate Alliance, made a covert visit to the planet Murinster to meet with San Hill, the co-chairman of the Interstellar Banking Clan, and Graf Shelby, the director of the Fourth Group. After a 2-hour meeting, he departed in a state of despair. That afternoon, a fleet of 20 large warships appeared above the planet Tatooine and immediately entered a hyperspace channel, vanishing without a trace. Ghidorah the Hutt, the overlord of Tatooine, chose to ignore the event. Simultaneously, on the planet Bespin, located on the opposite side of the galaxy, Lin Nanyi, the acting captain of Fleet B, led his fleet into a hyperspace channel and disappeared. About half an hour later, in the outer space near the planet Christopher Sis, the flagship of the Galactic Republic fleet, the battlecruiser Negotiator, which was coordinating the next offensive against the Separatist fleet, was suddenly engulfed in the blare of harsh sirens. Upon seeing the alert, the radar operator immediately reported, "Large-scale fleet detected emerging from hyperspace, counting 20 ships, estimated time until contact, 10 minutes. Admiral Wolf Yularen was taken aback. "What did you say? A separatist fleet? How could such a large mobilization of warships escape the notice of our intelligence department? Whatever it is, I have a very bad feeling about this." Obi-Wan Kenobi said solemnly, "It seems our enemy has indeed made their move." Vol 2, Chapter 6 or 42, The Battle of Christophus, 8. Admiral Wolf Ululin issued an urgent command, immediately investigate the origins of this fleet. An intelligence officer aboard the battleship quickly scoured the records, then raised his head to report, "There's no information available. None of the border outposts between us and the Separatists have detected hyperspace activity on this scale. Additionally, there's no report from any of our fleets about a recent departure. Recall all fighter jets, commence resupply operations, and arrange for pilots to rest in shifts. Alert all ships to recalibrate shields and keep the main cannons charged," Wolf Ululin ordered after a moment of contemplation. "We must report this encounter with the unidentified fleet to Supreme Strategic Command. Calculate the origin of the enemy ships," Obi-Wan Kenobi interjected, suddenly recalling a detail. "It appears they've come from the direction of Tatooine." The radar operator hesitated before responding. "Tatooine? But the Hutts had sealed all hyperspace routes. Even after we rescued Ghidorah, they agreed to reopen them for only a month," Wolf Ululin expressed his surprise. "Let's leave these diplomatic issues aside for now. Our priority is to deal with the enemy before us," Obi-Wan Kenobi stated firmly, then connected to his apprentice's communication line. "Anakin, reinforcements are on their way. They may have more tricks up their sleeve, so proceed with caution." Under Admiral Wolf Ululin's command, the Republic fleet began to reorganize. After enduring a series of intense battles, they were left with 18 Chaser-class battlecruisers, 12 Aquitans-class light cruisers, over 7,600 fighters, and more than 400 bombers. In contrast, Admiral Trench's fleet, lurking in the shadow of a satellite near Christophus, was significantly diminished, comprising only 14 Higla-class battlecruisers, 3 Generosity-class communication frigates, 3 Disobedient-class light destroyers, 5 Lulu Carry Hook-class battleships, and the Will of the Will-class destroyer as his flagship. The Vulture droid fighters were completely depleted, with the remaining 100 or so having entered Christophus's atmosphere to support ground troops. Admiral Trench's forces were less than half the size of the incoming fleet and its reinforcements, leaving them in a dire situation. Suddenly, the void of space was pierced by the emergence of 20 large warships from hyperspace. Among them, 10 had a unique design with a small bow and a larger stern, resembling the shape of a convex. The other 10 were larger and longer with a flat bow, resembling a craftsman's tool, and were even larger than the Chaser-class ships. The scan is complete. 10 of the battleships are 940 meters long, and the other 10 are 1,300 meters long. "The model is unknown," exclaimed the radar operator. Admiral Wolf Ululin scrutinized the sensor images and frowned. "What type of warship is this? Notify the intelligence department for identification immediately. Order the ships to disperse into a G battle formation and open fire." The Chaser-class battlecruisers, with their 8 twin-mounted main guns, were ready. They unleashed a barrage of energy blasts that rained down upon the enemy. The opposing fleet, evidently prepared, tightened their formation to present a denser target and returned fire. "The enemy ships have adjusted to a dense artillery formation," announced the combat staff. "It seems they lack fighters and are relying on a dense formation to provide mutual cover and maximize their battleship's main gun firepower," Wolf Ulalan deduced. "In that case, inform all ships to prepare for fighter deployment." The battle was evolving, and both sides were adapting to the unfolding dynamics, each seeking an advantage in the fierce confrontation above Christophus. In the midst of the battle, Admiral Wolf Ularan oversaw the Republic fleet with a calm and strategic demeanor. "The Separatist fleet is advancing towards our reinforcements," he was informed. Despite the incoming threat, Wolf Ularan remained composed. "Those battleships are not in prime condition. They pose no significant threat. Focus our forces on the Separatist reinforcements," he commanded. As the first wave of the Republic's response, Chaser-class battlecruisers deployed their massive hangar platforms, launching thousands of V-19 Rapids light fighters. Organized in groups of 4, these fighters swarmed towards the enemy like a cloud of locusts. Meanwhile, the enemy's barrage of laser and artillery fire tested the Republic fleet's defenses, causing the shields of the targeted battleships to ripple intensely under the assault. "Report any damage immediately, and calculate the firepower of the enemy's main artillery," Wolf Ularan ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. At his side, Obi-Wan Kenobi expressed his concerns. "General Ularan, I'll leave the command to you. I have a bad feeling about those 20 warships. They seem more formidable than they appear." Without waiting for a response, Obi-Wan hurried towards the hangar, passing rows of clone troopers donned in black pilot suits. The clone pilots, known for their exceptional skills and composure, had become the backbone of the Republic's fighter pilot force. Reaching the hangar, Obi-Wan greeted the captain of his squadron, boarded a Delta 7 fighter jet, and took off, disappearing into the fray like a bolt of lightning. Meanwhile, an intelligence officer rushed to Admiral Wolf Ularan with urgent news. "General, our intelligence has identified one of the enemy ships as the Martha-class heavy cruiser, a new model from Dawn Planet. The details of the other large warship remain unknown." Wolf Ularan repeated the name, pondering the implications. "The Martha-class has been firing sporadically. Its design suggests it might be a transport ship, yet it's classified as a heavy cruiser. Curious." Deciding to probe the enemy's capabilities, Wolf Ularan watched as the first wave of 1,100 Republic fighter jets engaged the enemy. Suddenly, the Separatist warships began to slow down and then came to a complete stop. "There's a significant energy buildup at the front of the unknown large warship," reported a radar operator, indicating an imminent threat. Wolf Ularan reacted immediately, ordering an increase in the output of the front shields. But before any further actions could be taken, the nature of the threat became clear. The Martha-class cruisers are equipped with missile launchers, 140 groups on each, with varying sizes. "They're guided missile cruisers," the radar operator exclaimed. A chill ran down Wolf Ularan's spine as he realized the gravity of the situation. His instincts as a general told him they were facing a dire threat. The battlefield offered no time for contemplation. As the Republic's fighter jets closed in on the Separatist fleet, the Martha-class cruisers launched a barrage of missiles. Within minutes, thousands of missiles filled the space, not aimed directly at any target, but set to detonate in a designated airspace. The battle had escalated beyond expectations, and the Republic fleet found itself in a perilous situation, facing an enemy with unexpected and formidable capabilities. "I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that request,"